The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Sky 6316, 8.8 for 6,000.
Yeah, 6316, North Approach, going to maintain 3,000, number 1 for the right.
3,000, Sky 6316.
Redwood 811, going to maintain 4,000, airport's open to box 1.
We take you higher and higher and higher. You feel it over and over again. We take you higher and higher and higher. You feel it over and over again.
6 Nova Carefly runway heading runway 5. Let's take off.
Check!
And we're ready for takeoff. Sit back, relax. It's time to travel with Cosmic Passport. Spaced Out Weekend presents Elizabeth Anglin's Cosmic Passport. A 1-hour warm-up of news, stories, thoughts, and ideas to captivate your mind. You can follow us at spacedoutradio.com.
Now 20 years have passed us by, and we look back and count the time. Burning like the summer sun, when the world was young. Silently staring from the ground, and 7 trumpets wait to sound.
And now, here's Our Lady of Flight, Cosmic Passport with Elizabeth Anglin.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Weekend on spacedoutradio.com. This is Elizabeth Anglin, your host of Cosmic Passport, coming to you from Uncle Jimbo's cabin tonight in the relative northern heavens of the far left coast of North America with a silvery tendril of love to the desert southwest of New Mexico. We are so happy that you're here with us tonight. We're going to be talking about the work of Edgar Cayce, who almost everyone has heard of, but maybe doesn't know the story behind, especially his work with the Akashic Records and Akashic Record Readings. Before we do that, I do want to welcome our member stations and groups out of, let's see, who do we have on? Renegade Talk Radio in Las Vegas. Thank you, listeners who are coming in from there. Also, UPRN 107.7 in New Orleans, Wolf Spirit Radio, the High Plains Radio Network, Forest Moon Paranormal, and listeners coming to us from TuneIn and iTunes, and of course all of our listeners on Spreaker. If you're on the Spreaker chat room, James Tyson will be looking at your chat tonight. I will be looking at the SOR Space Travelers chat room from time to time. At the bottom of the hour, we are going to open up the phone lines so you can call in, and it's going to have to be probably one person at a time, or James will call you back. But I am going to be doing some demonstration Akashic Record readings. And just so you know, keep it to one question, and as we get closer to it, I'll explain what those questions can be. So the phone number, write it down now just so you can get ready, but don't call in now because I'm going to talk a little bit about Edgar Cayce first. The phone number tonight is 575-694-6634. And at the bottom of the hour, we will be going live with Akashic Record Readings for the people who call in. Now, before we talk about Edgar Cayce, I want to talk to you about our SOR Space Travelers chat room. And if you love our show, and if you love the things that we bring to you, please consider becoming a space traveler. Yes, a space traveler. As in, no, we don't necessarily have a ship come around and pick you up, but you do get to get on the website, and for less than $5 a month, we have the chat room. You get cool stuff like free books, swag, private interviews, a newsletter that is coming up, and archives of all the spacedoutradio.com shows and more. So if you love us, become a Space Travelers, just so we know. Give us a thumbs up. Tell your friends. Come to spacedoutradio.com. This is the place where it's happening. And right now what's happening is the life and times of Edgar Cayce. You know, when I was first starting out as a reader, I had always heard of Edgar Cayce, and everybody, when they would mention his name, almost everybody I knew would be like wide-eyed, because it was like, ooh, Edgar Cayce. He talked about Atlantis. He talked about Egypt. He was like the original New Age guy. Oh my gosh, we don't know what was going on with him. Was he channeling demons? What was going on there? Well, the fact of the matter was, Edgar Cayce was quite conservative. He was born in 1877, and he was known as the sleeping prophet because he was able to put himself into a trance. He would lay down on a couch, fold his hands over his belly, and put himself into a deep trance. And when he was in that deep trance, he was able to connect with cosmic consciousness. Yeah, he's our guy. Because why? Because he's like the first guy who really connects with cosmic consciousness, and this is Cosmic Passport. So he had his Cosmic Passport through cosmic consciousness, which is basically a trance state. He was born in Hopkinsville, Kentucky in 1877, and he began to display psychic abilities in early childhood. And what had happened was his grandfather died in an accident that he witnessed. And soon, right after that, he would be seen talking to his grandfather in spirit. And then he was also talking with other spirits, which people called his imaginary friends. But he said, oh no, they're spirits. They're on the other side. He also, soon after that, after his grandfather died, was visited by an angel who helped him memorize his schoolwork by sleeping on the books. So he had this ability, he didn't really have to study. He just would take the book, put it under his pillow, and wake up in the morning knowing what he needed to know for school. How cool is that? I never really had that skill. Well, I had an easy time in school, but I never slept on my book. That's so cool. It was after that, around the time he became a young adult, that he started to just lay down on the couch and go into trance. And it was the cosmic consciousness, the universal consciousness, is also known as the superconscious mind. He could ask questions about anything, any place, anywhere. And so some of the questions that he got were as broad as, what are the secrets of the universe? And others were, what's my purpose in life? And the others were health related. And some of the first important work he did was medical intuition and health related readings. How can I help my arthritis? How can I heal this person who can't seem to be healed? Or how that sort of thing would come to him. Now, he was a churchgoer. He was a Sunday school teacher. At a young age, he vowed to read the Bible for every year of his life, and at the time of his death in 1945, he had accomplished this task. So from the time that he could read the Bible till the time he died in 1945, he read it every year. And that's amazing. Every single year he went through the Bible. when people ask him, how do I become a psychic? How do I become like you? His advice was to become more spiritual, to work on the spiritual life. Edgar Cayce died in 1945 at the end of the Second World War. Now, it's been suggested and said that he was warned just before he died that he was working too hard. And what was happening at the time is that he was in Virginia Beach, and there was a way that he got there. And maybe we should go into that first, but the unfortunate thing that happened was so many young men were missing in action during the Second World War that he ended up doing more readings than his guides or that Spirit wanted him to, and he basically exhausted his own life force energy, and he began to get very tired and very run down. He was only 67 years of age when he died. He got so tired by the fall of the year before from reading for mothers of young men who were lost and MIA about where their sons were, whether their sons were alive, not alive. He would sometimes do 6 or 8 of these trance sessions a day during the Second World War because he felt like he had a responsibility to do that. And he was warned that it was not going to be for his highest good, but he did it anyway because he really felt for parents and he really felt for children. And he had had issues with his own children that the spirits had been able to help. He had lost a child in, I believe, 1917. And let me go back to his timeline. Hold on a second, and I'll talk about that. He had 2 children, and one child was lost shortly after birth. So he married Gertrude Evans, who was also born in Hopkinsville. He did a variety of odd jobs in addition to being a psychic. One of his favorite was to work for medical doctors and healers as a medical intuitive or a medical psychic. He worked at a bookstore. He worked at a dry goods store when he was 22 years old. He formed a partnership with his father when he was 23 and became an insurance agent. At 24, as he was selling insurance, he lost his voice. He had a paralysis of his vocal cords, which made him unable to speak beyond a whisper. And what happened during that time, since he couldn't talk, he couldn't sell insurance, is that a photographer in his hometown offered him a job as an apprentice in his photography studio. He then met a man named Hart, who was a traveling hypnotist and showman, who made him able to speak normally under hypnosis. And just after that, Edgar gave his first psychic reading with the help of a man named Al Lane, and he diagnosed his own vocal difficulty and began to regain his voice. And Lane had patients, and he began to give medical readings for Lane's patients. In 1902, he went back to work at a bookstore, and then he was called back to do medical intuition for a little girl named Annie Dietrich. And her case played an essential role in the history of his readings, and then he continued to work with Lane. In 1903, he married Gertrude, and Lane left, and then he opened, in 1904, Edgar opened his own photographic studio. He really had a lot of varying jobs throughout his life. He never really, he was a medium in the finest sense of the world. This information that he would receive didn't come from him, or if it came from him, it came from a part of himself that wasn't really walking around as an enlightened being in the physical world. He had his own doubts about, what he should be doing with his life. He liked to have normal jobs. He wanted to provide for his family. He didn't think that he should necessarily charge for what he did, but it was very hard to be called to work so much, and then he had to do all of these other jobs. So he didn't do well in business. He had a fire that wrecked his studio. He had artwork in his studio that was on consignment. So basically, he had 2 fires in his studio. He lost all the artwork that was consigned to him, so he had debts. He had to pay the artist back. He had a partner who withdrew. He was in Bowling Green, where there was no massacre, and he had to pay off debts from both fires. And in 1909, he finds a job in Alabama and moves there from Kentucky. In 1910, the New York Times publishes a very long article on his abilities, his psychic abilities. And he goes back home to Kentucky and opens another photographic studio. And he forms the Psychic Reading Corporation in addition to that, and gives daily readings for medical intuition again. In 1911, he's interviewed for Hearst Chicago Examiner, and he has a child, and their second son, Milton Porter, who dies in May. And his wife develops tuberculosis. What happened with all of his kids, except for the baby who died, Gertrude's tuberculosis was solved or cured by his readings. His daughter becomes ill. She is cured by his readings, and his son becomes ill, Hugh Lynn, and he is cured by his readings. So every person in his family and his nearest and dearest are cured by his readings. So even though it's hard for him to make them a living, they've all been saved by his readings. He begins to get involved more in the medical field. By 1919, he wants to help build a hospital. So he forms a partnership with others who are seeking oil in West Texas. And he tries to do readings about where the oil is. And it's just this brutal, brutal time. Because what's happening at that time is he's trying to decide through his will, through his ego, how his gift can work to serve others versus just listening to spirit and serving others. And he goes out to West Texas and he drills nothing, and they drill nothing, and they drill nothing. And if any of you have ever tried to win the lottery with your psychic abilities, it was like that for Edgar Cayce. He's basically trying to hit the mother lode. He's trying to win the oil lottery with his psychic abilities. And every time he just gets sent in a circle away from where he should be. And he's looking around and he's seeing that all these other people are hitting oil. And he, with all of his psychic abilities, it's almost as if he's being directed any place but where the oil is. So it was a learning experience in humility for him, that his gift was not for him to make a lot of money or for him to direct it. And he became a very humble psychic medium at that point. Even with all of the fame that he had achieved, he realized that unless it was God's will, or unless it was part of the divine plan, he couldn't just take his psychic ability and go use it to strike oil or to win the proverbial oil lottery or the lottery or anything else. So after the 4 years, he returns to Selma, Alabama, and at that time he hires a permanent secretary, Gladys Davis, and she's 18 years old, and she remains with the family for the rest of her life, helping transcribe readings that he does. And they end up transcribing over 5,000 readings during the course of his life. During one of the readings at that year in 1923, a man requests a reading on astrology, and in that there is mentioned the concept of reincarnation. And our Edgar is then invited to go to Dayton and speak on philosophical, metaphysical, and astrological topics as a psychic. 1929 comes around. 20s go by. He's got clients. He's got faithful clients. 1929, the stock market crashes, and it's the beginning of the Depression. Now, Edgar was protected what had happened just before that was he had given good advice to somebody who had a lot of money in the stock market. I can't remember the gentleman's name, and it's not mentioned here on this list that I'm looking at. But this gentleman basically offered to set Edgar up in Virginia Beach with a place to live and a place to do work from his stock market money. And Edgar had warned him about the crash, etc. There was another psychic at the time. I don't remember her name. She was exceedingly famous, and I believe she was writing in either the Tribune or the Times, New York Times. And she was playing into the sort of everybody gets in the stock market, everybody wins. And so she would always say, stock market is good, stock market is good, put your money in the stock market. So even regular people, everybody had their money in the stock market, and everybody was listening to this newspaper psychic who was saying, put your money in the stock market. Well, it ended up creating a false sense of security, because the only reason it was doing so well is that everyone from the lowliest newspaper boy to the biggest tycoon had their money in the stock market, and the economy was not really that productive. So even up until the point that the stock market crashed, she was saying that same week, put your money in the stock market. That was not what Edgar was doing. Edgar was in a trance. Edgar was talking to spirit. Edgar was giving his people good information about how to protect themselves, and none of his ego was involved. He couldn't even remember the readings that he was doing. So he was not the newspaper psychic. He was the one that you went to if you wanted a good, clear, clean reading on something. So with the money that he was given, the support, basically a gift, he went down to Virginia Beach, and in 1930, after the crash, opened Atlantic University. And the next year, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, which is still around today, was incorporated, and Atlantic University stopped its activities. And they basically found out that people couldn't afford. It was the depth of the Depression at that point. People weren't coming to Atlantic University. They were just basically trying to survive. But because he had this gift and he had this place to live, he kept reading for people, and he did thousands of transcribed sessions in the next 15 years. In 1942, they have Charles Thomas Cayce is born to Hewlin and his wife Sally, and they have readings that indicate he is the reincarnation of Edgar's grandfather, who he used to talk to as a child. And then he writes his biography, There's a River, with Thomas Segure, and it's published in 1943. And this time period, 42, 43, all of World War II, he is working like crazy. They're trying to have him do only the prescribed amount of readings, which I believe is something like three a day, and he's going up to 8. And so he's basically getting tired out. He's going to work and he's recording himself after hours because he's trying to get to every desperate mother who is wondering where their son or even their daughter, if their daughter is, in the armed forces, they're wondering where their children are. And he's trying to be helpful. And he just ends up getting tired out. So in 1944, on September 17th, he gave the last psychic reading he was ever going to give to himself. And then he dies on January 3rd. And then his wife dies on April 1st. So they both go around the same time. So that was his whole life. But he read the Bible. He was a Sunday school teacher. And he would come up in his readings with information about Lemuria, about Atlantis, about where Atlantis was, where people moved to, the Basque area, the Mayans, information that scientists hadn't even found out yet. Even some of the Mayans, he was the one who said things that are still, that good anthropologists and archaeologists believe the Mayans were part of the Mound Builder Society. Well, actually, that's relatively new research, even in the last 10 years, but they're confirming that now. So he came up with a lot of different things in his readings, and just by reading mainly medical and Akashic record information for people. He'd come across people who had been Mayan. So he'd talk about their civilization in his readings. He came across people who were Atlantean. He came across people who were from Greece and Egypt. He didn't come across a lot of people from China, but he talked about China a lot in his sessions as China being basically going to be the next country that takes over the world and the next Christian nation, after our time period. So there were a lot of interesting things that he did with prophecy. And we've been doing some of that here with Skeeter and the Shift. And I'm just going to take a drink and go into some of the prophecies or things that he's read that were proven. And there are some that haven't been proven yet. So let's see. Excuse me. Thank you, people. Okay. Hold on. Oh, I can't find it. I guess that's not to be done tonight. So basically then we're not going to do that because I guess we are running out of time. We do want to get some people on to get their Akashic Record readings in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you how this works. So what I've learned about Akashic Record readings as a spirit medium, my introduction to the Akashic Records came through my guides back in the 90s when I started working with my guides. And I wasn't sure what this was called. They basically said, well, you can go to the library and you can look it up. And I was like, library? Because I was so experiential at the time. I never read a book. I was like, no, teach me how to do it directly. So they said, well, there's a library where everybody's life plan is kept. Well, that's the Akashic Records. So what we can do is take you to the library and look up with you the life plan of this person. Now, what they need to understand is that if the way that the life plan is going, they make a different decision or they change their mind, this is a holographic representation of their life plan that they pre-decided. Not everything is written in stone. It's written in a mutable, dynamic, holographic matrix. So if they are working on something, say that they are meant to have a relationship with somebody, and for one reason or another it doesn't go well, and one or the other of them backs off, and they decide they're just not going to do it, even though they had an agreement to do it, and it's in the life plan, what will happen is a new holographic, dynamic holographic matrix with the same type of learning environment will be substituted for what was going to play. So the movie that was going to be that love story that they decided to cancel, either one or the other of them or both of them decided to cancel, that movie isn't going to play. But you'll get a new movie that will still have the things that you need to learn or the things that you wanted to learn in this lifetime. So there are very few things I learned from my guides that are written in stone except for the things that you came here to learn to do, be, and have that you really wanted at a soul level. And sometimes the movie has to do with old desires, and this is what's called karma. So we often think of karma in the very religious Buddhist sense. If you kill an animal, you'll get killed. If you kill somebody, they got to kill you. Well, that's not actually correct. It's oftentimes karma is getting over the memory and desire to want to kill somebody who killed you. So, for example, in one lifetime, I was a happy Buddhist monk. My mom was a nasty Chinese raider who came to my Eastern Tibetan monastery and decided to hit me in the head with an axe. Man, was I peeved at the person who later became my mother. Because, hey, I was a happy Buddhist monk, and you hit me in the head with an axe, and that just doesn't seem fair. So I had a lot of karma with her because I died angry. I died mad. I didn't think it was fair that had happened to me. I had not done anything to this Chinese person. And we didn't have love for each other. So over the course of many lifetimes, being reborn together, our karma was to learn to love each other. Our karma was to learn to forgive each other. And that's more of what karma is. It's love and forgiveness versus, guess what, you have to keep killing each other. Because why? Because she killed you, and then you killed her, and then that person over there killed your best friend, so now you got to kill them. No, it's not all about the death and the dying. It's about the overcoming anger, frustration, and rage, overcoming memory and desire, overcoming bad feelings, forgiveness, love, and compassion. And so some of that, if you don't have forgiveness, some of what happens is you end up replaying situations until you learn love and forgiveness. And even though you may not do it with the person that you originally thought you were going to do it with, you'll do it with somebody else in the lifetime that you have. Wyatt, come here. Now, that being said, let's see what we have going on in the Space Travelers room. I think we could open up the phone lines if James is around.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to give the number again?
Yes, please give the number again.
7. Oh, sorry. No. The number to call in is 575-694-6634. 575-694-6634. And if you're on Skype, give us a shout at James_32. Oh, sorry, James_Tyson32. And we'll get you that way.
Okay, and so somebody was wondering what the strange tone was. So there's something I couldn't turn off on my computer. It's on my Skype. Like if you send me a message, I did mute the Facebook messages, but my Skype will go meow when somebody sends me a message on Skype. So I have to figure that one out. I apologize for the weird noise, people. Does anybody have any questions in chat that you want to type in all caps? Then go ahead.
And I'm over in the Spreaker chat room, and no one has a question yet, but they're very chatty.
They are very chatty. So what we would be doing if you call in and you ask a question, you want to think about something, if you've wondered if you have a past life issue with someone or a work issue, or what did you plan to do in this life? Basically, your records are everything that was, things that are as of today written that you want to have happen, or the types of energies that you want to have happen. But those are mutable and changeable and dynamic. We could look at what your soul purpose is. What did you come here to learn how to do? Sometimes people learn they want to come here to be healers. They want to be radio broadcasters. They want to take care of animals, that sort of thing. And so we could look at your Akashic records to say, well, what is the thing? I feel like I haven't figured out my thing yet. Well, we could look at that. Edgar Cayce loved to work with parents and children, and he did lots of reading for children. And tomorrow night I'm going to get into one of them. It was a child that he believed was the reincarnation of Thomas Jefferson that came out of a reading. And it was funny because tonight when I was looking through the records, I have all of the records, which you can get if you go to the Association for Research and Enlightenment and become a member. You can access all of the readings. It's very cool. But I was told to type in Minerva. And Minerva brought up one reading, and it was for a child a month after he was born, and the child was identified as reincarnation of Thomas Jefferson. And it goes through this child's life from 1936 to 1978. Now, I couldn't read that all to you because of copyright issues, but I like Akashic Records for parents with small children because you do get information about what to look out for with the kids, what their paths are, what their skill sets will be, what to encourage, what to discourage, and that sort of thing. And a lot of parents find that very helpful because, hey, guess what? Who knows? This is like a kid, and you have all this responsibility, and what's going to happen if you screw it up? So Edgar did a lot of those readings and really enjoyed doing them. He liked to work with kids. He liked to help heal kids. And when he did Akashic Record readings, he did it with the sense that he was healing people. He didn't do them just because, oh, I want to find out who is famous so-and-so. There were a lot of readings where nobody was famous at all, and they just had a lot of memory and desire for certain people, either their husband, their parent. They had situations that they had agreed to do together in a past life that had gone terribly wrong, and they were still trying to work that out. And he would, in his readings, what would often happen is they would have an aha moment when they were presented with the information about why the relationship was in conflict. And the aha moment would be, oh, I see. And they would begin to let go of the desire to either replay the event or work out the event or have the event that was no longer playing. They are no longer this person they were in the past. They are now a completely new person. They would begin to be able to let it go and live the life that they had been given this time. And when that happened, he would feel that that was success. That if he could help people overcome where they were stuck, where their soul energy was stuck in a previous lifetime, and move forward in this lifetime as the independent personality that they had become in this time frame, then that was a healing. And he really liked that because that was a unique way of healing that person and helping a family or helping relationships between mothers and fathers and children and that sort of thing. So, it's interesting. I know that there are people in the world who are saying they are the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. When I really started to work on Akashic Records, I at least was able to have conversations with Edgar's mental body as he helped me through the process. What happened in my process was just after 2010, 2011, I started doing more Akashic Record readings. More people were sent to me. Edgar would help me tease out the information and talk to them in a more positive, healing way. And if you're not a spirit medium, you may not understand how this works. So there are several levels. The levels, like if you just pass, you may be in the astral plane. If you've been around in spirit for a long time and perhaps part of you has moved on to a new beingness, there's always a mental level of you. So Elizabeth, myself, there's always, once I pass over, there'll always be a mental level Elizabeth. Part of me may move on and get reincarnated as, alien, I don't know, Mixra or something from Planet Zoo, but there will always be an Elizabeth. And that information or that personality can always be available to a spirit medium if they have the energy to access the mental realm. So anyway, not sure where Edgar was, but he was helpful to me. Questions?
Yeah,
yes, James.
I've got one here. I don't know if it's something you can answer in this regard, but somebody over in the Spreaker chat room would like to know why he always hears the high frequencies. Like, I have a spectrum analyzer, excuse me, and they're really kind of up there. It's not tinnitus.
So it's something outside of you.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I have a spectrum analyzer, and they are really there. So he's hearing them, and he's picking them up with a spectrum analyzer. But he's hearing.
What's his name?
Dave Chamard.
Dave Chamard. Hold on. And where, Dave? Just like general location of your town, so I can see what's around there.
Remember, we've got a bit of a delay, and then Dave's got to type it in here too.
Okay. I'm just connecting with Dave's by yourself. Okay. Ooh, it's a way active where Dave is. Ooh, there are so many wavelengths of high frequency things going on. Wah!
Wisconsin.
What town? Ish. Yeah.
You and your ishes.
Well, there's some kind of broadcast tower that is broadcasting on this frequency, and I kind of want to give him a directional so he can look for it, because this is actually something that he is picking up on. It seems to be to the east. If you were to make a pie, like a piece of pie, like Dave is in the center of the pie, you would cut a piece of pie, like an eighth of pie, going to the east northeast and the east southeast.
Two Rivers, Green Bay ish.
Okay. Well, there is something over there that is broadcasting this, and you're picking up on it. And it's to the east. It's broadcasting. I don't know, it might be a Navy thing or a boat thing, for ships or something. But yeah.
Sorry, I've got another one. Why do some energies, souls, ghosts, see a white light as you're passing, and others do not? Does the white light have something to do with how they died, or is it just our batteries running out?
Wow. Well, I saw a blue light when I died. And then I went down the tunnel, and then it was very bright at the end of the tunnel, but when I got to the end of the tunnel, there were all sorts of colors on the other side, a lot of rainbow colors. There was beryl. I basically got the end of what's at the end of the Bible, which is the Omega, when you walk across the river with the bell sound because it's hitting the beryl sides of the channel, and you go over the bridge to the city, and the city is made out of, it's basically crystalline, pearlized crystalline. So there's beryl everything, which is, if you look at that, that's rainbow color, and pearl, and there's gold, and there are people. So for me, but what I saw was blue. Some people see white, some people see multicolored, some people see gold, some people see pink, some people see everything. There's a woman in Colorado, I remember seeing her story, she saw everything. So it's actually it matters on who the person is. It's probably not the battery running out, it may just be how spirit appears to different people. I don't know, that's my opinion on it, having done it myself and listened to other people's stories, is that they're not always the same. Okay. People see different things.
Yeah, and like you say, some people, or like the fellow asking the question, some people don't see anything. It's, I guess it's just what happens. I hate to say you see blue, or everyone sees blue, and if you're colorblind, you're kind of screwed, because I saw this
I felt love, and I felt this incredible love. I have a best friend who was terrified. All he felt was fear. Of course, he was drowning, so I don't think he was quite dead yet. But he had this incredible fear. It was just utterly and completely fear. He was out of his body, and he was terrified. And so he did everything to get back in his body. I don't know how close of a near-death experience that was, but he felt like he was going to go to the HELL place, and so he really scrambled to get back in his body. That was not at all like my experience. So,
I've got actually a caller who just came through, and we unfortunately had to do that silly thing by phoning them back. And it's now no longer on my recents. There it is. Shoot. Excuse me. There's another call that's came in. And I apologize to the 208 area code that I went to call you back, and your phone number disappeared from here. So give it a shot again. Unfortunately, I have to hang up and call you back. From the chat room, can you help me discover what my life purpose is, or get rid of whatever it is that keeps me from discovering it on her own or on my own?
What is her first name?
I'm going to guess Teresa.
It's okay. Teresa in the chat room. Hold on. Teresa, I need to know your age when the delay is over. Just tell me your age, because you're going to have a life change at your Saturn return, which is, and I'm not sure if you've already had it or if it's coming up.
Hello.
Hi.
Hold on, 208. What's your first name?
Loretta.
Okay, Loretta,
Okay.
hang tough for a second. Teresa?
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Teresa?
We need your age.
We need your age. And
62.
Oh, no.
No, not you, Loretta.
No, not Loretta. Teresa will be 48 on the 22nd of February.
February. Okay. Teresa, what happened at 28? What'd you do? Because that's where you took a turn. They're saying at your Saturn return, you took a turn. And it seems like you're afraid to get back on the original path. Like terrified to get on the original path. So the block is actually, the block is so great, it's almost like your terrified self is saying, no, don't look at it, no, don't look at it, no, don't look at it, no, don't look at it. And what you want to do is figure out what the trauma was that made you so terrified. What were you thinking of doing in your 20s that you got terrified to do? Because you've been hanging onto a block of fear for 20 years. And so that's the issue, the block. And I've got your fearful self going, don't look! So I don't know what we can say about that, except let's figure out what the fear is, and then we can look at it. You have a lot of entanglements for you to even get close to where you were going to be if you had gone ahead in your 20s. And you may have to, there's also like a repeat, like a redo of your mid-40s, something that you did in your 40s that would have to be like resolved. So it's complicated. All I can say is, yeah, I'd love to read your Akashic records, but your block is so complicated. It's you've gone off. So perhaps we can do this tomorrow night, or do it in between.
So
okay.
So Teresa, think back to when you were 28, 29. You hit a fork in the road, and what made you take right instead of left, or left instead of right? And
what were you afraid of?
Yeah. And as a result of that, you're not going to be. You're having an issue trying to go back in your own mind and finding what your path is.
Yeah, you've taken a detour, and you've been on that detour for a while. So we need to get over the fearful thing that put you on the detour, and that's the best I can give you because of the fear. Loretta, how are you?
Elizabeth, I'm great.
Good.
I wanted to ask if you see anything in my record that could assist me on my journey now.
Okay. And what's your name? I know your name. What's your birth? What's your age?
62.
62. Okay, good. Thank you. Humor and mirth. And this is almost to the extent of you getting up on stage and doing stand-up, or doing having a rebirth as a teacher / stand-up comedian or speaker. And I hope you're not afraid of being like getting up in front of people, because you're funny, and it opens up doors. It opens up an ability for you to travel. It opens up people into your life. So they're saying focus on your humor, your mirth, and how you can use it to heal too, making people laugh, using that laughter to help people heal, or to help organizations heal, or to help people who are in, like groups that they're healing from cancer, make them laugh. So my analytic overlay is the guy who has the video on YouTube about forgetting everything, and he's singing a song, a Beatles cover about how forgetful he is. But he talks to groups. But you're funny. You're like a comedian to groups. Going forward, what do you do now? I have no idea if this is right. So,
well, I do not professionally and not for pay or anything like that. I am kind of a healer, and I don't know that I consider myself funny, but humor is really important to me, and I do think it's very healing. I don't see me getting up on stage and being a stand-up, but I can see me bringing that more into other types of healing, that situations that I get into.
Yeah, I think, and also the thing that as you talk, what I'm feeling is that you're a little bit timid, and you really want to let your inner lion tigress roar as you go forward, and that's when the funny will come out, because it's like really embracing humor as phenomenally healing if you can really get people to laugh deeply. But you have to have this grounded sense of, I am worthy of making people laugh their ass off. You know.
I have no problem knowing that I am worthy of anything.
Good. Then just like get up there and just make them laugh, because that's going to open a lot of people to you and refer people to you. So a lot of word of mouth and a lot of, and you can start out with small, these other things that you do start there, but I see that expanding as you go forward into like 73, 74. And then I just see a lot of light after that. It's like it's an apex opening up of light. More and more and more and more light comes in, and more openness comes in your mid-70s on until you transition. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Elizabeth.
You're welcome. We'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. So yeah, that's kind of Akashic. We got stuck a little bit for Teresa because there was some personality stuff in the way of me looking at the Akashic. And tomorrow night we're going to continue on with Akashic Record Readings. Think about your question. If you have a relationship that's stuck, something else about a child, anything like that, we're going to talk a little bit more for 10 or 15 minutes about Edgar Cayce, and then we'll go into readings. So if you're around tomorrow night, Sunday, please stop in. I will be happy to talk to you. And James, who do we have as your guest tonight?
We have Amy Toy. She's at the other end of the old log cabin in the southeast corner. So it's about 3 hours or 4 hours from now for her, because it's a damn big cabin. Now, Amy Toy is a very, very sensitive person, but she's one of those people like you who is dead. No, she's not dead.
Oh,
she has died.
Okay.
She's died a couple of times. Now we're going to talk about how that most likely or may have affected her being as sensitive as she is. She has been corresponding with angels for the last 30 years. She channels angelic energy, and she's a healer. It's very, very interesting. And she said her connection to the divine was further heightened by not one but two near-death experiences. Amy is a intuitive past life regression therapist, angelic healer, oracle reader, psychic, Reiki, and she's a radio show host down where she be living in Florida, at the other end of the cabin here. And that's coming up in a little couple of minutes after the top of the hour. We'll have Amy with us. Sleepyhead Amy will be on.
Yeah, it's later time. Is she going to do readings tonight, or is she just going to talk about her work?
We're not going to do readings.
Okay.
Because that's just
not her
stuff. Well, no, we can't just have If we had psychics on doing readings all the time,
it'd be fun.
You know, it'd be fun. But I got something to ask you.
Okay.
You know, and I went to a thing called a psychic dinner, and one of the things it was that you paid $20, and there was 5 psychics who would come and sit at your table, and they do readings for you. Only one of them was right on. The other. The other 4 were like, oh, you're going to live on an island and you'll be moving there shortly. And I'm looking at them going, that would be something I know because my career would have given me a little bit of advance notice of that. And of course, they don't know who I am or anything. But the one of the 4 like could not have hit anything more perfectly, other than to go through my wallet mentally and tell me what was in it. But so when you do get numerous psychics on and they're all good, and we have our constant callers call in and say, you always have that line of callers that calls in that are asking the same questions all the time. What if they did that to 10 different psychics and got 10 different answers? Does that mean the psychic is bad, or is it just
it's interesting? No, it's interesting how that works. I have worked in like a group shop where every psychic had a day of the week. And what has happened is, for me, oftentimes I would be the one who would got something completely different than everybody else. And I would end up being the one who was right. Not tooting my own horn, but I'd been doing it a lot longer and I had more direct connection. I wasn't reading tarot cards, etc. And I wasn't just reading what the person was thinking about. Now, what I know about you, James, is you would like to move to an island, and Tahiti or Bora Bora,
Fiji,
or Fiji. Yeah. You would like to move to Fiji. So what probably happened is you got the more skilled one got it right. The ones who were reading your thoughts and what you'd like got Fiji.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So, and I've seen that working in a shop before, where people will pick up on energy field and thoughts in the energy field and what a person perseverates on or obsesses about. Same word.
Perseverates?
Okay. Perseverates, obsesses.
Okay.
It's but they won't actually get what's going on because they're in this sort of conscious, unconscious space in the energy field. So I think 4 of them did that and picked up Fiji, and one of them picked up the real deal.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Cool. And that's what Andy in the chat says, is picking up different aspects of the same person.
Yeah.
Whatever you're thinking about at the time, I guess, or whatever. I always look at it as you're going to get what you need to know when you need to know it. Elizabeth, we got 30 seconds. Go.
You guys are awesome. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow night with more Akashic Record Readings, a little bit about Edgar Cayce's prophecies in Atlantis, and we'll talk about that Lemuria thing. And kisses. Love you, love you, love you, love you. I'll see you all tomorrow night.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium, Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on 2 mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. 2 mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
It's time to go live on Spaced Out Weekend.
13, please. Oh, hi, Kevin. Oh, is that the time? Kevin, my friend, don't you find that watch just a little bit loud? Well, I certainly hope our buddy Bumblefoot is playing when we get there. Oh, you stinky big bundle of hair. I said Bumblefoot, not Bigfoot. Oh, it's going to be a long night.
It's time to head to the 13th floor of the old log cabin for Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson. You can tweet James at James Tyson SOR. You can find him on Instagram, Spaced Out Weekend, as well as on Facebook. On YouTube, our channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can check out our website, spacedoutradio.com.
Little brother has taken control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere. Watch it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
And now, perched high in his captain's chair, way above the clouds, here's James Tyson.
Welcome, everybody, to Spaced Out Weekend, and thank you for listening to us on the Spaced Out Radio Network here on Spreaker, the High Plains Talk Radio Network. Coming soon, WQEE 99, The Key in Greater Atlanta. And we want to thank our new affiliate out there at United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And always that one that I like to say, but I've completely lost who they are. And then I'm going to go right off the top of my head. Oh, yes, off the top of my head. Renegade Talk Radio in Las Vegas. Love those guys. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we broadcast every night of the week, and we want to be your one-stop shop when it comes to the paranormal, spiritual, UFO, conspiracy, and much more. Our music right here in our show is brought to you by Ron Bumblefoot Thal of Art of Anarchy, past of Guns N' Roses, and he is the official musician of Spaced Out Radio. Please come follow me on Twitter at James Tyson SOR. Go look at my Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show, and also Spaced Out Weekend for moi. On Instagram, you can follow me at Spaced Out Weekend. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. That's also where you can find us on iTunes and Intunes, whatever the heck that is. And of course, spacedoutradio.com. Tonight, right here, why do I keep going into that old Ed Sullivan thing? And for you non-baby boomers, disregard. Tonight, we have, as we talked a little bit with Elizabeth Anglin about, we have the fabulous Amy Toy. Amy is an intuitive counselor, past life regression therapist, integrated energy therapy practitioner, angelic healer, oracle reader, psychic medium, Reiki healer, and radio show host. Amy has been doing readings and corresponding with the angelic realm for over 30 years. Yes, she's been doing this since before she was born. She's very adept in channeling angelic energy in a healing. She has a clear cognition for connecting to source energy, and she's had this since the age of 3. And by 14, she was proficient with tarot readings. Her connection to the divine was further heightened by not 1, but 2 near-death experiences. The second near-death experience reopened Amy's transcendental gift. However, she no longer speaks English. However, she suppressed these spiritual gifts because it was ingrained in her that it was evil and not from God. Later in life, she discovered through her own life's journey and soul searching that religion is used to bring us closer to ourselves, purpose, and source. And it was during her most profound second near-death experience that she recognized how she was truly surrounded by God's messengers, the angels. And now from that point forward, she has harnessed her power, enhancing these supernatural gifts, and continually expand her knowledge through connecting with the angelic realm. Absolutely fascinating. Amy, welcome to Spaced Out Weekend.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure for us to have you here. Because without you, I would have just made all that stuff up and be talking to myself. So
it sounds very complicated.
It does. It's you know, for someone who's completely illiterate, it's hard for me to read most of the stuff anyway. But I'd like to thank you. Some of the stuff is absolutely amazing that you've run into. Now I'm gonna drag you kicking and screaming back because I'm guessing that's what you did when you were 3 years old. But you had a connection to source energy since the age of 3.
Yes.
Explain that to my listener. What did you? First of all, it's hard to remember back that far, but I'm guessing, you know, at the age of 14, you could have looked back to the age of 3, and but it's been going around in your head for so long, you're probably able to pull that info back. But what was going on?
Well, let me explain something. I come from a long line of psychic healers. It goes back on my mother's side. And I guess my great-grandmother, her grandmother, she was raised with this. So when I had this experience at 3 years old, which is when my grandmother passed away. And she came to me in an apparition where she appeared to me and said, "Tell your mother I'm okay." So I go to my mom. You know, you're 3-year-olds. You're just like, "Yeah, Mom, you grandma." And she's looking at me like, "Oh, my God, you have the gift." I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?" I didn't realize that was abnormal not to see spirit. And I've always seen spirits and angels and everything. But that one experience, my mother, you should have seen my mother's eyes. They bugged out of her head, and she looked white as a ghost. I thought she was the apparition at the time. But that's how I remember that's the first experience I had, was with my grandmother coming from spirit, coming to me to tell my mom she was okay.
Oh, wow.
So, you remember that. You remember that stuff. It's weird that you do.
That's a clue. Yeah. It's like, I do remember things from approximately that age, about 3 or 4. I remember a very vivid dream. So, I can understand that you can pull those out, especially with the with the type of intuitiveness you would have. Now, your mother's looking at you like you're nuts, or no, I shouldn't say she's not looking at you like you're nuts, but she's in awe at this point.
Right.
Now, you're picking this up. Your mother's an intuitive. Is she also picking it up at the time? Do you know?
No, I don't feel she really listened to her gifts. I decided to cultivate them. My mother did not. My mother, if you talk to her, she can read not read your mind, but read your energy, where she's an empath. So she can finish your sentences, how you're feeling, tune in that way. She never really developed it, but she grew up around it with her grandmother, which would have been my great-grandmother. So she knew my great-grandmother read the tea leaves, did the tarot, did the healings, did all that stuff. So my mother was familiar with it. But when you bring your own daughter in the world, and you don't think that it's a gift, you're bringing it through your bloodline, and all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, my daughter's got the gifts, and she knew what my grandmother had my great-grandmother had gone through. She was very well sought out in the area I'm from, but also there's a lot of stories that my mom's mom told me. So.
And that could have kind of
tainted her. Tainted her
and now she's seeing it in her baby, and it's like, oh, for crying out sakes, what's going to happen now? This is
exactly. Yeah, well, my mom's younger sister, who's also a Pisces, I'm a Pisces, and my Aunt Marcia's a Pisces. She has the gifts, and she doesn't like to even tap into. I just don't get it. Why can't you tap into them? It's a gift to the world. It's the way I look at it. And she doesn't even want to go there. She's like, don't talk to me about that. I don't want to know. Okay, Aunt Marcia, whatever.
Yeah. So. Okay, but don't get into a blue car. No.
Yeah. Or don't cross the street at 7:30 a.m. on December 15th or something.
But ignore everything else. It would be hard to me. Things, I saw things when I was little. My mother never told me. My mother was the sensitive in the family, but she never told me stuff about this. It wasn't until 2012 when somebody pointed out something to me, that there's a thing called an empath, and that I was, intuitive. And I thought, I have no idea what you're talking about, until we kind of sat down and did a life review and went, oh, those things I saw? Yep. Ghosts, or voices, or turning left instead of right that saved my butt. Yeah, that was stuff I was getting guided for. But, I wasn't as, let's say I'm not as high in energy as you were, where it kind of popped out at the age of 3 and off you went. Now, you were saying, it says by 14 you were proficient at tarot readings. Is that something you kind of just picked up and got interested in, or was it something your mom did too? Amy? Honest, I swear, guys, she's really here. I'm going to run down the end of the hall here. I'm going to find out where Amy is and see if we can get her back. It's funny how this thing works. It's she is only a couple of feet down here on the other side of the cabin. Okay, maybe on the the real far end of the cabin. It's I can't seem to get a hold of Amy again. I'm going to. I wish I had a commercial I could throw in, but I don't. I will give her a shout back, and I keep giving her a shout back. Or
Hello?
being that she it's hello.
Hi.
All of a sudden, there you were gone.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. I'm like, hello, I'm here.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It was just that thing. Now, before Spirit stepped in, I was asking you if you know, in your tarot readings when you were a teenager, did you learn that on your own, or get that any help from your mom?
No, my mom did not ever do tarot readings. She never encouraged me, and she never discouraged me, my mother. She just knew I had a path. I went to the bookstore one day, and I was drawn to a tarot deck. I bought it, and I showed my mother, and she's like, okay, you know, you want to do tarot? Go ahead. And I started reading tarot, and I was going to Catholic school at the time. This is a funny story. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. I was going to Catholic school. I went through K through 8th, and I brought my tarot deck with me because my schoolmates wanted me to do a reading, and I did. And the nuns are going in, and they're calling me a devil worshiper. I'm like, are you kidding me? Everybody wanted a reading. Oh, my God. I just remember that. The nuns are like, you're a devil worshiper. You're doing tarot readings. Okay, I won't bring them to school again.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's devil.
But I was accurate.
Yeah, that's what it is. You're only a devil worshiper when you're accurate. My friends who are doing remote viewing for the U.S. government as psychics.
Oh yeah,
it's like all of a sudden new manager comes into the federal government in the U.S. who's very, very Christian and says, "Oh, we can't have remote viewers. They're tapping into Satan's energy, and they all have to be fired now." Mm-hmm. And it's like, what?
Yes.
But we just found a submarine.
Stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've heard of those stories. They used to freak me out.
Yeah.
But, it's amazing what the government wants to utilize, and that's the same way with the Catholic Church. I mean, you can burn candles and burn incense and have intention, but yet that if you call that candle magic, something's wrong with it. It's like, I can go and pray to a saint, and, you know, it's okay, but I can't do candle magic to something else. It's so stupid, or spell work, or whatever people do. You know, it's weird.
That was weird. Yeah, I know. It's like you go to smudge a place or use it with Palo Santo or sage, and the Catholics will freak out. But then again, they burn incense. Now, when you point out that the three wise men brought gold and frankincense and myrrh, and then when you tell them what frankincense and myrrh is used for, they go, "Oh, well, that's different." No, it's not. It is not different, you fool. Hey, speaking of all the psychics that get fired from the U.S. government, no. We had a lot of the psychics, and this is one of the questions I wanted to ask you about. The psychics that I talked to over the last couple of years, their spirit guide, their primary spirit guide has taken a step back and has been replaced by an extraterrestrial spirit guide.
Okay.
Has that happened to you yet?
No, not that I'm aware of yet. But I've been working. The angels, is rumored sometimes they're extraterrestrial as well. So it could be. I don't feel so. My guide, I have a guide named Renault. He could be extraterrestrial, but we had a past life during the French Revolution. So not me yet. I wouldn't be surprised though. Maybe that's why I can't sleep at night.
Yeah. Cool. My primary spirit guide has always been E.T. But I didn't know I didn't know what a spirit guide was until 2012 when I got introduced to this guy. But he's actually taken a step back lately, and I've got a woman who was actually a human at one time step forward for this next little chunk of my life that I'm dealing with. Yeah. But it's very, very interesting how so many of these ETs have stepped forward. But if you've actually got some other spirits that you're dealing with that are ETs, maybe you're not going to get, you're not going to have to. Tell me about angels. Like, where do they fit in with your communication?
That's an interesting question and an interesting story. I have so many stories. God.
I'm sitting down.
Yeah. And the angels, I've always seen them when I was a child. When I think back to when I was young, I used to have playmates. They were fairies and angels, and my mother would probably think I was crazy for saying that, but they are. I've always had an affinity with the angels. In fact, when I was 12 years old, obviously I didn't feel like I fit into this world. Gee, I wonder why. And I was suicidal. And I was writing a note, and I was going to end my life. And it was an angelic presence that told me I was going to be okay. I had a purpose, and to put down, I was going to take a bottle of pills. I went in my great aunt's drawer, and she had Xanax or something like that. And I was suicidal, and I had an angelic presence that came over me because I was praying. I was praying up to an angelic. I wouldn't say, with the Catholics you have, because I was raised Catholic, you have all those figurines or those, figures, and I was praying to an angel, and that's what happened to me. So ever since then, anytime I've needed help, the angels have always seemed to show up. And when I ask for help, they can only intercede when you ask for their help. And there was another experience, my second near-death experience. I was in a religion. I decided not to be Catholic anymore, and I was in a religious cult for 10 years, and I left that cult. And I was praying for help. I was numb inside. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I had anything. And that's when I had my second near-death experience. And that's my second near-death experience was mostly with the angels. And that's how I developed a relationship with the angelic realm. That's just the gist of it.
That's crazy. I shouldn't say crazy. It's crazy in a good way. It would just be something that, because I've never actually... excuse me, I may end up having to block somebody in one of the chat rooms here. It's just one of those things. Yeah, it's or two people. Yeah, it is very interesting. I have yet to bump into an angel guide or see or deal with anything that I would deem to be angelic. When you have these, when these things come in, what do they look like to you?
Beings of light. Now, my second near-death experience was, I'll touch upon it just a little bit. When I had when I went through the tunnel and the life reveal, there were beings of light. To me, they look like different colors of light, like indigos, blues, greens, purples, reds, anything, yellows, oranges. Those, to me, are the angelic realm. They're colors, and different colors represent different things and different, jobs or whatever you want to call it. And that's how I got hooked up with the angels. They've always been there for me. And then, after my second near death, I got into integrated energy therapy, studied the archangels, started talking to them, started feeling them more, became more aware of them, became one with them. And that's just my thing. I'm not the angel lady, but I feel close to it. Yeah,
it's one of those things that I would love to connect with. I've seen, I've talked to people who say, okay, now I'm seeing something, and it's a she, and they describe them as being like the old school angel-looking things. Yep. When you see them, are they light source? Are they feathered winged, or?
To me, when I was younger, they would come in the old school way, where they would be more like a human. They come in how we recognize them. Well, there would be human, form with the wings. But now I just see beings of light, like laser light. It's like a straight line of light. That's how they come to me. And right now I have like a bunch of them around me, and I'm getting warm here. And I live in Florida, but, I could put the air on. There's different colors around me right now because I call them in before. Anytime I do an interview, I call them in, and they're surrounding me. I see a lot of yellows tonight, and I see a lot of purples, and I see a lot of blues.
Do you have one primary angel?
Yes, I do. Her name is, actually I have two guardian angels. One I really work with extensively. Her name's Ariana.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's beautiful, too. Very beautiful angel.
The psychic, the spirit medium who first did my reading, which exposed all this stuff, has a guardian angel. And knows her name, and she steps through, and she sees this lady who's her angel. plus she has spirit guides. All I'm aware is of this one spirit guide.
Mm-hmm.
How do we communicate with our own angel? Is that the same way of communicating with a spirit guide, just kind of thinking or meditating?
Yeah, usually what I tell my clients is just as I'm talking to you right now, talk to your angels. Like I said, they can only intercede when you ask for their help. You can't necessarily say, I'm going to have, if you're not going to ask for their help, they're not going to come to you. But if you really have a desire for them to come to you, you can ask your guardian angels. And I would start from there. That's what I did. I actually took an angel class, and Ariana just came right through.
Oh, very cool.
It was very cool because during that time, after my second near-death, I went through such a dark night of the soul. Dark night of soul is you question everything in your life. You're like, okay, God, what did you do to me? Why did I have this near-death experience, and now why am I seeing things? And why am I hearing things and feeling things again when I wanted to shut it down? And I just felt the angels helped me through my near-death experience, so I called upon the angels, and I got help.
Now, I want to touch on your near-death experiences, but something you just said there, where you're asking Source or God why, you had wanted to shut all this stuff off. Why are you doing this? Would that have been the reason? Because you were shutting it off, and that's not your path?
Mm. Yes, definitely. What I feel definitely when I had my near-death experience, which was I was told I wasn't living on purpose. I wasn't living my path, living my purpose, whatever you want to call it. And it was like the first 2 years, I got a crash course in spirituality, bottom line. I read everything I could on everything I could get my hands on so I could understand it. I read every near-death experience book you could get out there. Danny and Brinkley, Saved by the Light, Betty Eadie, all these wonderful people, Raymond Moody, who wrote about near-death experiences from a physician's point of view. So I could understand what was going on with me because I thought I was going crazy.
Yeah, it's a friend of ours, Eugene Braxton's written a book on his near-death, and Eugene, amazing guy. His book, a lot of it's to do with his follow-up at a university hospital where they did all his regression therapy. Mm-hmm. And Eugene was one of those guys who actually he did astro traveling. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ever since he was a little kid, he thought everyone else did that. So when the near-death thing happened, he just took a step back out of his body and watched it. And then because he did all this astro traveling, he remembers every step and every conversation of what happened until he had to go back to his body. So his book is basically based on everything he had gone through, and then the follow-up regression therapy afterwards. What in your case? Take us through your death. All right, Amy, take us through your death. The first one. We'll get to the second one in order.
Okay.
But kind of walk us through that.
The first one is when I was in the cult. I was a Jehovah's Witness, and that to me is a cult. Don't laugh. I'm serious. I was one for 10 years. And I had I'm very sensitive, intuitives, who I'm sure you've talked to. Any medication you take sometimes doesn't go really well with you. And I took some kind of medication. I went into what they call anaphylactic shock, woke up in the hospital. And, it was my dad who found me, saved my life, by the way. And I remember just light. I just remember light and being sent back. It was like a blip on the radar to me. But I remember I was changed. And after that, this religion that I had been in, I didn't want to be in it anymore. It just that was a turning point for me. Fast forward to my second one, which was something that was, like I said, I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, the cult. And then I went into my near-death experience. Another thing, anaphylactic shock. I was on antidepressants. Like I said, I felt very numb inside. Had a bad reaction to it. I was driving home, by the way. I was driving home. Passed out at the wheel. Did not kill anybody. Thank God. And I remember waking up in the hospital, seeing this white light, but then I was taken back. They had told my grandfather who was there, my father, my mother, that I was clinically dead. They just could not keep bringing me back. And my chest for 6 months, because they pounded on my chest for 6 months. I remember feeling, oh my God, I felt like my heart was going to leap out after that car accident. Oh my God. But anyway, I remember the car accident I woke up, like I said, in the hospital, but the angels took me back, how I had passed out at the wheel. They showed me that they had kind of put I was driving a truck at the time, and they had put the truck into a concrete wall. So the truck got stopped. Nobody got hurt, thank God. And I remember my brother-in-law, who's a volunteer fireman, was the first guy on the scene. I remember him seeing me slumped over on the wheel and crying hysterically. He was the first responder. It was in his town. I remember him crying, and I remember looking at that, and they were pounding on my chest. They were trying to get me out. They were trying to wake me up, and it was just not working. They revived me for a little bit. I remember going into the hospital, but then I remember while I was on the way to the hospital, that is when my spirit was taken up to the white light, to the tunnel, into the white light. That is where I saw the angels. That's where I saw myriads of different beings of light, which I feel were angels. Because sometimes when you have a near-death experience, you will encounter loved ones that have crossed over. I had angels. But I remember this panoramic screen, and I don't know who was talking to me, if it was God or whatever, said, Amy Toy, welcome to your life. And I was shown my life. And I'll tell you, what I was seeing from my life, because like I said, I had felt no purpose up to that point. I had left this religion because they do not believe in life after death, by the way. They just think your soul, you die, or, there's Armageddon, you're going to have a resurrection and all that BS. I didn't believe, I had shut all this down because it was that religion that told me what I was, my psychic abilities, my healer abilities, whatever, was from Satan, okay? So I'm going to the white light. I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm witnessing my life. I'm seeing that I was not living on purpose, that I had these gifts from God or source or whatever, and they said to me, you can go back, or you can stay here. But if you stay here, you're going to have to go back. You're going to have to go back, and you're going to have to experience the life that you've had 10 times worse. And I'm like, shit, man, I don't want to do that. Excuse my language. I don't want to do that. I think I just want to go. I want to just go back and finish what I have to start. And that's where I got brought back. And I remember my mother yelling at me, "How could you do this to me?" And I'm thinking, man, I had a near-death experience. Listen to what I have to say here. So that was the second one. The second one was more profound than the first one for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. What happened on the second one?
The second one is where I had decided to come back. I had gifts. My psychic ability that, like I said, I had shut down or suppressed, got reawakened again. That is what happened. I was shown I'm supposed to help people with my abilities. I'm a healer. I am a psychic, intuitive, whatever label you want to put on it. I'm here to help people with their purpose, their passion, their life path, what I've gone through. I'm to help them. And that's basically what it comes down to. I'm supposed to write a book. I've been writing a book about my near-death experiences. I'm doing these things. I'm educating people. It just, after that, my life, after that second near-death experience, my life had started to fall into place. And I was pulled in a different direction than I ever had dreamed possible. Let me put it that way.
Oh, that's crazy. Now, your book...
Yeah.
Are you digging kind of deep into each of those experiences on what you communicated with on the other side?
Yes, and what I communicated with, what I experienced. Some things, like I said, I had suppressed, but it's been the last, I would say, 5 years that things have shed more light. There's been light shed on different things. Just experiences, and then, I remember my mother was married before, and I remember I hadn't seen a spirit since I was 3 years old, okay? I remember that experience with Grandma. Her first husband had passed away when he was in his mid-30s, and I was moving, and I remember seeing him walking past my new apartment. And I had seen pictures of him, so I knew it was Marv. And I told her what he was wearing, that he was wearing a suit, and that I thought she was going to drop that right there and then. I was like... and this is just less than a year after my second near-death experience, because I had moved out on my own, and I decided to move forward. And I just remember that. It was like, she's like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "No, Marv's walking by." She goes, "Why would he? That's not your father. Why would he want to see you?" I'm like, "I don't know, Mom. I have no clue."
Yeah. Now your mom's jealous of a ghost.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's not your father. Why did he want to see you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello, I mean, I could... I know. But I remember that so clearly. And my dad who, and my grandfather were like, they're just like, "Oh, here she goes again with those woohoo stuff, They call it woohoo stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's a technical term. I'm pretty sure in the dictionary it's psychic woohoo. I call it voodoo. It's like, oh, my kid says, "Are you going out and do that voodoo stuff?" "Yes, I'm going to go see a ghost in a lady's house." "Oh, then what are you going to do? Voodoo?" "Yes." "Yeah, that's why I come into your bedroom at night and take blood out of your arm when you're not looking, and that's why you can't find your cat." It's weird the way people look at it now. From some religions, I won't mention the name of the religion, Catholics, that real anything you do, any spirit on the other side is a demon. It's an automatic. It's like the Jehovah's Witness thing.
Yes.
One of our listeners, Bob, in our Facebook chat room, he was saying that he was in the cult for 20 years and it screwed him up badly. Just a mind control cult in the worst way. And for the disclaimer, if you are a Jehovah's Witness, what do you listen to this show for? Come on.
They usually don't.
Yeah, so we can talk about them. But what I find about Jehovah's Witnesses, they're very attractive. All the ones that come to the door here, it's like, "Oh, come on in." "Oh, you're one of them." I thought these two very pretty girls showed up. And it is interesting when you look at how religions and the religion doctrine kind of looks at what has actually existed on Earth for as long as we've been walking upright-ish.
Yeah. Well, I think for religion is great for some people, but not for everyone. It does bring us closer to our source and purpose and whatever, but there's a point where you need to cut it off, And if you go, I'm not saying occasionally I will go to the Catholic Church and I will go pray to a saint or two just because, but my dad ingrained this in me. He goes, "I have a relationship with God. It's none of your damn business what I do with that." "Okay, Dad."
It's none of your damn business.
Yeah, because when I was becoming a Jehovah's Witness and they were trying to convert him, and I was like 14 going on 15 at the time. That's how young I was. He was like, "You're not getting me into that cult." And he was right. I should have listened to him. Yeah. Saved me 10 years of my life. But, could have, should have, would have. And I think that religion can be used in a good way and in a bad way. There's a duality to everything, the yin and the yang of the universe.
Yes, there is. My father was like in his late teens, early 20s during the Second World War in England on a bomber crew, and he was brought up Anglican. And honestly, so was I, and I have no idea what that is. But I just remember getting asked to leave Sunday school because I went on and on about why there were no dinosaurs in the Bible. And of course, the Sunday school teacher was some volunteer parent who had no idea what to do with me other than ask my parents not to bring me back anymore. But he would go when he wanted, like his friends who had passed at the time, and like I said, late teens, early 20s, your friends get blown up. And you see them die. Their plane crashes, and crap, what are you going to do now? Life was so fleeting at that time in a world war. And he would kind of what we would call meditate. But he would do it, well, I guess other people would call it pray, is just kind of be quiet, picture your friend, and talk to them in your head. But he would walk into a synagogue, a Catholic church, an Anglican church, a Protestant. It didn't matter. It was just a quiet spot. So he was never overly religious in one, per se, religion. He really never talked about God or angels or Jesus or anything like that. His thing was just, it's my thing. And it's, like your dad. It's none of your damn business. It's my connection with whatever's out there is mine, and I deal with it on my own terms.
Exactly.
Where other people, like I dated a girl once whose parents were missionaries. I used to call them mercenaries because they were cranky as hell. But she had it was Grace, Hope, and Joy. Those were her sisters. Seriously, her name was Grace, and then her sister, and she was God's gift because she was 25 and her parents were like 75 or something. She was a gift from God at the last moment. And I said, "Holy cow," once in front of her mother, and her mother scowled at me and said, "Cows are not holy." I went, "Oh, okay. On that note, your daughter will be single for life," and off I went. No, but they were missionaries in China and held in prison for 2 years, and they were out there as Christian conversionists, and that scared me. Those kind of people scare me, but it's I guess it's what they say is their calling. They're going to go out there and spread the word. I would just rather the word get funneled to me on a note on my desk when I'm not looking, as opposed to getting slapped in the head with a giant Bible and screamed at, because I don't think that's the way we're supposed to connect with any source energy at all.
No, I mean, when I left the Jehovah's Witnesses, I knew I had to get away from it, and there was another, I could do probably ex-Jehovah's Witness videos. They would call me an apostate after how many years? Because I don't believe in their religion. I'm going to die at Armageddon, which is a bunch of BS. But I had a near-death experience of it too. But anyway, you just, after a while, you just want to get away from that fanaticism, if you will. That's the way I am. I run. If anybody says they believe in Jesus and praise the Lord, I'm out of there, man. I will bless you and out of here, because I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to deal with it. I bless them, but they would probably be like, "You're a devil worshiper." Yeah,
you can't bless me. Get away. Oh my lord. See, it's one of those things. It's like you say. It's between me and Source, and if I get information I want to pass on, I do use, as a paranormal investigator, one of my tattoos is, you probably can't see it, but I'm looking at it right now. Well, you probably can because you're that way inclined. But it's the Archangel Michael. It's not Saint Michael. It's an Archangel Michael. It's a very, very, very old symbol. And that's the one that Archangel Michael, Archangel Haniel are the two that are very strong in me. And Michael's the one that I use a lot for clearing stuff out and passing over.
Yeah, that's what I do too. If I'm called upon, I've done house clearings when I lived up. I'm from New York, as you're well aware of. I've done a lot of house clearings up there, and I would call on Archangel Michael. In fact, when after my second near death, I had been brought different experiences, if you will, and I had one, man, that scared the crap out of me. It was like, remember the movie Poltergeist and that slimy poltergeist kind of thing? I had one that I cleared out of a house. This little girl was talking to it. It was like, oh my God. And that thing came to my house where I was living and was like wanting to come in, but I had the angels surrounding the house, so it went away. But that scared the crap out of me. I don't know how you do it. I can't do house clearings anymore. That experience itself scared the crap out of me.
In what way?
Because I was like this thing I could feel. I didn't know what I was dealing with, and I remember I used Archangel Michael, and I had a friend of mine that got me into the integrated energy therapy. That's when I was starting my journey, and she told me how to work with the angels and the archangels and that. It just scared me. I just was like, oh my God, this thing's coming. And, I remember my guide saying to me, you're of the light. You just tell them to go to the light, and It did. His name was John, by the way. I remember that. That spirit was named John. It went to the light, but it just freaked me out. That was my first experience.
Wow.
But I've done things, here and there, but I don't do it like I used to. So I had all these things lined up for me. It was like after I had my second near death, like, oh, we're going to put you to work, Amy. There you go. So I was brought a lot of things, a lot of different things to test, I guess, experiment with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that test. It's always testing.
Yeah, I mean, it is a test. And when I was married to my ex-husband, we were looking at houses, and I remember we went to this one house. And actually, this is a funny story. A Jehovah's Witness was the realtor.
Yeah.
We go up to the attic, and this guy had hung himself. And I could feel that presence. And the realtor at the time, she was a staunch Catholic, could feel it. And we all felt this thing breathing down our neck. We got the hell out of there. Oh, God. I mean, some of the stuff. And I remember going into that room to the right and seeing this guy hanging himself. He was showing me. And I'm like, okay, God, what are you doing to me now? I would say to my angels, and I cleared the house, and it did sell, and the spirit went away. But stuff like that, you don't forget those experiences. I'm sure you have a lot of, you're a paranormal investigator. I'm sure you have some strange experiences like that, too.
And I was a Canadian Mountie for 28 years. So, like I always say, I've seen dead people, and I've seen dead people.
Dead people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I've had to sit with, somebody hasn't seen Uncle Fred for a while, so I go over to the house, and, the flies are in the inside of the window. And I've got to sit there with Uncle Fred and take photographs and look at the scene to make sure it's not a crime scene and wait for body removal. I just talk to them like they were there. It's, it's comfortable, but as long as you've got that little jar of Vicks Vapor Rub that you put up under your nostrils while you're there, because it's the physical part of death that's really disturbing. The spiritual, emotional part isn't.
No.
Because you can tell when you walk into some a crime scene, or not even a crime scene, because you very seldom come across a homicide crime scene or something too obscure. But you deal with a lot of people who have passed in various ways. When you walk into things like that, it's telling, in hindsight, going back, that they were still spiritually there, or they were gone. There are complete different feelings when you walked into the room. Now I look back on it and go, oh, something was still there. Like the energy hadn't left the room. And there's the other ones where it's completely... Now, imagine the energy in a room that is completely pure and clean. Absolutely pure and clean. That's the feeling when you walk into a room where there's a deceased, where there's just the body and the soul has passed or the spirit has gone. The room is completely clear of anything negative. It's 100% positive energy. And when they're mixed up, it's still, when they're lost and they haven't crossed and they're bouncing off the walls in there, that's the energy is creepy. I've got a question coming in from Gail in one of the chat rooms. Amy, where do your angels come from? As in, how are they created, if you can even know that?
Created with my belief is it's infinitum. There's no creation, no beginning, and no ending. That's our human limited thinking. I believe that they were created from God, if you want to call the creator. I think that they've always been with us. I don't think there's a beginning or an end. They just like we are souls, we just are. I don't know if that answers the question, but
no, that makes sense.
It makes sense. Some people can't see that because our human mind is so limited. It has, we've created time. We're the only beings that have time.
Yeah, and other. I've talked to other people who have an understanding, and I'm always open to this, but we're we're fourth dimensional beings about to go into the fifth dimension after this life, once we've checked off all the boxes on the stuff we want to experience. And the sixth and seventh and up are non-physical dimensions. So could those angels actually be family members from those dimensions coming back to give us a hand?
I believe they are, or as I was told, I was part of the angelic realm at one time. And people think, oh my God, that's blasphemous for her to say that, but that's what was revealed to me, that I was part of the angelic realm, and I reincarnated as a human. One of my incarnations was an angel, or many incarnations, as I've been told.
Do you know, were you like just a one of the helper angels, or were you, we have a listener, are you sitting down, Amy? We have a listener who is actually a angel, and he's a named angel, worked with Metatron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Michael. He's back right now because he's supposed to experience what we as humans are up to, because when the time comes, he's one of many angels that are down here experiencing this, that are called upon to say, okay, these humans, what are they up to and why do they think this way? And should we take all of them out or just a portion of them out? So it was funny. The psychic Skeeter was talking to him, and she says, by the way, you have 2 marks on your back, don't you, by your shoulder blades? And he was paused and said, yeah, I have these 2 lines that are there. And she said, yeah. Well, that's where your wings were.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of them, different angel coming back in human form. Yes, I have. That's an interesting, that somebody would be listening, to the show. Doing this work and being, coming from a closed-minded mindset now to, I'm open to everything, so nothing's surprising me. My guides are saying, yeah, he is, and God bless him.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. He first came to us. Yeah. Well, I don't want, if I tell you how he came to be a listener and what he talked about, it would give him away. But we've kind of promised not to let it all out there. But he's a brilliant young man, and it's good. It's actually good to personally know an angel, and as long as they stay on his good side, things are going to work. Let's hope. Come on, Amy, let's hope. Now, when you believe in angels, and you do, what is your belief on fallen angels?
Well, as we all, like the duality of the universe, I believe that there's good and bad in everything. So a fallen angel is sometimes an angel to me that can be on the dark side or work with the dark. And they're fallen, but they can get up. I'm an eternal optimist. Even all the crap that I've seen, I've also seen miracles.
Yeah. What kind of miracles?
Miracles where people I thought were goners, it's literally are still walking around, even my own family. I had a great-grandmother on my dad's side, actually, that had cancer, and she was supposed to die. And her husband had left her with 5 kids. And because of her will, they said, oh, no, Estelle, you're going to die in 3 months. And she went into spontaneous remission, and she lived to almost be 100. I had met the woman. She told me the story. I mean, in my own life, I've seen clients, things that you think were gone. Life as we know it is gone. People have rebuilt their lives. I've had people that I've counseled and helped with the angelic work, fight cancer and go into remission and live better lives. And fertility, people who are infertile, having babies, and you're seeing it in the reading. They're like, no, Amy, you're crazy. And you just say, no, you're going to have a child. There's miracles like that. I don't understand it, but I know that there's miracles on this world. People have to look for them. Even though with my lousy government right now.
Your government is where it's supposed to be at the time in history where it's supposed to be. That guy, there was no way he was going to lose because he had to be there. And if you've ever, I don't know if you've, well, you're really old. No, you're not. But in history, when you look back at two political parties, and yeah, we talk politics. One person is this, goes on this route, another person goes on the other route, and you can actually sit down and have a conversation. Look at the polarization of it's like one side thinks the other side is completely brainwashed, and the other side looking at, they both think they can't understand how they're not on the same page. And it is crazily frustrating for both of them to look at the other human that they could work with, and they're not connecting on this one subject, this one thing they don't connect on. Why is that? In all of history, why is that happening now? We've never been that polarized in a political conversation. But now it's like two different groups from two different planets have been put down, and they just don't understand each other. Well, that's because this is what it's leading to. It's leading to something, a mix-up. Over a year and a half ago, I talked to a very well-known psychic who said, Jeannie Borgen, who said she saw the flags of the White House burning. She first said, I see the White House burning. Then she said, oh, no, it's just the flags. And then she clarified it, saying, it doesn't mean the place is going to catch fire. It means there's going to be an upheaval within the political structure that has never been seen before. And it's for a reason.
Yeah, it is. My great-grandmother used to say to my mother, and I remember this, she goes, this country will have another civil war. And I thought, Graham, whoa.
No, that's in our...
Now I'm feeling it.
In our show, The Shift.
I get it.
In The Shift, that's what we were talking about. The psychic is seeing a civil war. It's seeing the banks collapse in the next about a year and a half. The Civil War at the end of, was it 2019? It could get to that point. Unless, with our free will, we get our poop together and understand that we have to start connecting back more to the earth we live on and not sucking the juice out of it.
Exactly.
And just get along.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, when he won, my guys were saying this is going to really get people back to their spiritual basics as well.
Yeah.
And I thought, and and I see that now with my who I read for and who are coming to me, and it's like, no, we have to get back to the basics. So let's pray. But I just remember my great grandmother saying that. That's the psychic I was telling you about in the family. Saying there's going to be a civil war, and she goes, and she pointed to my mother. She goes, and it's going to be in your children's generation. So here we are. So anyway,
no kidding. All right, kids, we've come up to the 7-minute stretch. We'll be back. Go grab yourself a water, powder your nose. We'll be back with more from Amy Toy right after this.
Hi there, this is Dave Scott, and I would like to invite you to listen Monday through Friday right here on Spaced Out Radio. 3 hours a night of the top stories with the top guests, ranging topics from UFOs to ETs, ghosts to Sasquatch, and everything in between. We are live every night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. So come on in and take a listen at spacedoutradio.com. Spaced Out Radio will take you out of this world.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, News Director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month, where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for. So join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Reveal Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/Rivulet R&R, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings. No matter where you are, it's time for you to make time for you.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Tonight's edition of Spaced Out Weekend is brought to you by spacedoutradio.com, where you can now sign up to become a Space Traveler member. Now, for the final time tonight, here's Spaced Out Weekend's James Tyson.
Welcome back, listener. You are listening to Spaced Out Weekend. And if you want, and I want you to do this, go to the SOR Space Travelers Club in spaceoutradio.com. And with a donation via PayPal, we could get your name entered into a monthly draw for prizes like Ferraris and all sorts of stuff. Access to private group interviews, access to special section or website, much more. And I just saw the t-shirts that somebody's designing for Dave. Well, they're not all going to go to Dave because, you know, who wears an extra medium? And anyway, it's a kind of a cool shirt, and I'd show it to you. In fact, I'm holding the picture up right now for all you psychics out there. It's a cool little shirt. You will win those if you join the SOR Space Travelers Club. And if you don't join, you'll just have to buy them. Fools. You can also go to spaceoutradio.com and read our latest blogs. Check out Eric Markham's SOR Space Wire for your latest in weird news, or just email Eric Markham, and he's plain weird to start with. We also have this cool feature, SOR Sightlines. And now it's there for you if you've had an experience and want it investigated by our researcher, Mike Schmidt. Just fill out the Sightlines report and we'll get back to you. All information is 100% confidential. And again, we'd like to thank our buddies down at 107.7 FM in New Orleans and their listeners from over 160 countries in the world. I was just telling Amy that we actually go out to we have... what did I say, Amy? About 300. We go to 300 million homes. 300 million homes. All of which, or a good part of them, have yet to actually figure out where we are on the dial. But we actually go out to over 300 million homes. We are with Amy Toy. She is an intuitive. She is a healer. She's had her near death and a couple of near-death experiences. Just a fascinating human. You are human, are you not?
Sometimes I wonder.
And she did have 10 years of non-human activity while with a certain religious cult who, again, I will not name, Jehovah's Witnesses. Amy, before the break, we were talking about some angel-y stuff, and we did have a question on the SOR space traveling type website. Where exactly? Well, actually, first my question about angels. Can you tell or give the name of somebody's angel? So I said, "Hey, Amy, I want to know my angel's name." Can you do that, or is that something?
I can. If it comes to me, yes, I tell people if it comes to the reading, you're meant to know, and I get the name of Daniel around you.
Daniel,
yeah.
That is really cool.
Daniel. Yeah, so you can call him Danny Boy. I don't know what you're going to call him, but I get the name of Daniel. I was getting that before. I was like, okay, who's that for you? So.
Okay, that is really cool. Thanks, because I've never met my angels. What
angels do you want them to go to?
Yeah. Hey, one of the questions from J.A. in the chat. Does it help to communicate with the spirits if you have been introduced to or know their name?
It depends. Once again, I tell my clients, if you're calling me or you need a reading, I say put the intention out there that you want to meet your angels or and your spirit guides, and you go from there. But sometimes if I'm reading you and it comes through, I will tell you. It all depends. You can get introduced or you can have it through intention.
Okay. Now, once you get that, is is it an easier connection than just saying, "Hey, angel"?
Yeah, it is. I feel it personalizes the connection, and then you can grow from there. I had a friend of mine who didn't believe in this stuff at all, and then she started feeling things, and she came to me, and she thought she was crazy, and da-da-da-da. And it was her angel that was trying to get her attention, and thank God she did. And then when we got introduced, she started believing it, and actually she almost got killed, and the angel helped her. I think she was going to go into the street or something, and if she had gone like a minute later, she would have been flat.
Oh.
So, yeah, that angel saved her life. But, she used to make fun of me and say, "Oh, yeah, you and those woohoo stuff, you and your angels." Well, now she's a believer. A daydreamer, I'm a believer, know, and it's just amazing. People just don't understand that. If you just ask and tap into it, it's right in front of you. It's not elusive. It's right in front of you. At least that's the way that's what I tell my clients.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. It's so many people have pushed this back into the back of their head. One of our listeners here who runs a very, very large paranormal group that bounces around all over this part of the Pacific Northwest. Brilliant young guy. Not young, but, younger than me, so actually rocks are younger than me. He doesn't like the word God. And once he mentioned that to me, I find myself doing the same thing. When we're in a conversation and I see the capital G-O-D, it kind of goes, oh, man. Because to me, it's the word God has always locked me into a certain belief system. So when I say spirit or source, it's more open to greater energy. Have you ever run into that kind of dogma or perception where God is, as soon as you say God, I think of the guy with the white beard in the clouds. And then when you think source or something, you think of more universal energy.
Well, that's where, when I started my journey again, I'll say when I had my second near death, it was about me just rediscovering God, or rediscovering source, and what my perception of that is, and I mean, and then I've heard in the 12 steps, they say, whatever your definition of a higher power is, well, it's what is your perception of a higher power? Either he's going to be dictatorial or whatever, or is he going to be loving and a caring father, grandfatherly? It's your perception of it.
Yeah. And that's where I think we, when we look back at biblical terms, we look at the term angel, and I perceive a description of that angel is what they looked at that angel to be like 2,000 years ago. It was something with a humanoid with a round thing above its head and these large wings coming out. But when you talk about light beings or spirits or heavy, like really high energy auras, it could be the same thing. But again, some people see them with the feathered wings.
That's because that's their perception of it. That's how they have seen it portrayed in paintings and pictures or whatever. That's what how they're going to appear to you.
Yeah. And that is, to me, that's interesting. You look at the term, and God made us in his image. Well, if God is source energy, I personally believed, my belief is I am and we are in his image, but I'm not talking about our meat sack with 2 legs, 2 arms, and 2 heads. I'm talking about the energy. We are energy.
Yes, we all are energy, positive, negative, or neutral. We all are our energy. Yeah,
and that's the image we're made on. We're made on. So it's all, translating a book that's 2,000 years old and looking at it with a perception of, okay, that is what somebody 2,000 years ago would have described whatever they saw as being, whether it's a UFO or a burning bush, or they're going to be described in a very lay way. And again, that goes back to that whole translating of biblical writings on whatever religion, the Torah or Bibles or whatever you've got.
Exactly.
Whatever you got lying around the house. whatever you find in a cave by the by the Dead Sea.
The Dead Sea Scrolls. The Dead Sea
Yeah.
from the 1940s, Book of Isaiah, right?
So you've got some interesting background and some interesting personal history to draw from.
Mm-hmm.
In your life right now, when you do readings for people, now do you do them like if somebody gets a hold of you via Skype or over the phone or through your website?
Yes. Yes, I do. Everything.
And what is your website?
It's Amy, AMYTOY.123look, LOK.com. I have to make sure that's the correct way.
Okay, and I'm just picture me staring at my computer screen going, what the... Okay. Amy, 123. Yeah?
Amy,
Amy Toy.
AMYTOY.123look.com.
123look.com. There you go. Oh, look at you.
Me.
Okay, I'm just going to post that up in a couple of my chats. So it's Amy Toy, 123, dot 123.
Look.
Oh my gosh. I
know. It's a V card. Yes, it's a
V card?
It's called the V card. Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a V card, all right, young lady. Give you a red card on that. Well, you know what? It gets out there, and like I've always said, if you want a reading and it's your time to get a reading, you'll get one. You're not going to push this stuff up, and things aren't going to just pop out.
No, I tell people, hey, if I'm here. If our paths are destined to meet and you need me, I'm here. I'm not going to shove it down your throat. People are like, oh, yeah, you and your psychic stuff. I do a radio show. I'm a pet psychic, and I do a radio show on Thursdays called Pet Talk Radio. And I had one of my co-hosts, I read for him, and he was an unbeliever. He was just like, yeah, you and your psychic crap, And I read for him, and I was right. It's like, dude, I just laugh because, it's not that I'm trying to prove myself or anything. The messages are going to come through, and they're going to come through, and it is what it is.
That is very cool, though. It's I do readings. I do oracle cards. I didn't know I could do that when I was getting my first reading. My spirit medium said, "Oh, by the way, you can do this." And I looked at her like, first of all, I have no idea why I'm even talking to you, but and everything you're telling me is true, including my mother's first name and her description standing behind me. This is freaking me out. And now you're telling me I'm something called an empath, and I have no idea what that is. And my police brain is looking at her like, what you talking about? And she says, yeah, you'll be able to do cards like this. Well, in 6 months I was. And I'll tell you, Amy, last Saturday, I was at was it last Saturday? The Saturday before? No, last Saturday. One of the psychics that I have on my two mediums and a large, Paisley Town, she put on a course, and it's just me getting confidence in doing things. And I pulled out 15 or 20 business cards out of my pocket, and I had the other person put them down with the white side of the card down, just 7 of them down. And I flipped them over, looked at the white side of the card, and I did a reading for her, and I was 100% accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that was the same night that the psychics are coming there with, look, I got these new cards, tarot cards, look at them, they're really cool. And I'm going, oh yeah, it's cool. Here, I got these business cards here. And they were only $5. So I'm finding, and the reason I did that is I'm finding that I don't need cards anymore. I can actually read people, which it really bugs me, because I find if I can read somebody, I'm obviously walking around open, and that's the hardest part for me to shut down. What do you do, Amy, to shut down so you're not walking around open all the time?
Well, there's so many things I've learned throughout the years. First of all, when I'm doing a lot of readings, which I do, I have to cleanse. I don't want to carry this stuff around. Even though I try to close it down, shut it down, I will take an Epsom salts bath or a sea salts bath to clean my aura. That is the first thing I do at night. That's one of my rituals. And then I do a meditation to just, pretend that everything's going down the drain. I just tell them, basically, I've set boundaries. You guys don't leave me alone. I'm done for the night. I'm just shut down. And I just shut down. It's like a computer. You know how you shut it down at night or after work and you just turn it off? That's the way I feel lately. And I've also learned things as an empath, believe it or not, to kind of block. I don't know about, have you ever experienced this, James, where you're going through a crowded room and you pick up other people's energy?
Oh, yeah.
Out of the blue. So I've learned to expand my aura out. It's kind of like a buffer. If I'm going to a party or something, I have to do that. That's the first thing. I've learned to just visualize my aura spread out. I learned that, and that helps me. I don't feel as drained when I come back home. There's so many techniques that I've learned, but the Epsom salt bath, that's my favorite. I love it. It's just just clears out my aura, and I just pretend I have a ritual where I shut it down.
I do the buffer thing, because you know how we wake up between 3 and 4:30 in the morning? Drives me insane. What I do is I do the meditation. I build the buffer around me and expand it to all the rooms of all the walls, every square inch of the room. And then I ask, the only things that are allowed in there are my guides, my angel, those who come of love and light, and those with my highest purpose in mind. All others have to wait outside. And then I sleep all night because I've laid the intent out that they're not allowed in there. So that seems to work. It really does. And I've counseled other people to do that too, who have that chronic, the empath with that chronic waking up in the middle of the night thing.
Usually it's my bladder that wakes me up, though.
Well, yeah. When you hit your age of 26, it does do that. That and the wine. But it is one of those things that I just lived with ever since I was a little kid, that I'd wake up between those times. I'd sometimes, as a kid, I'd see things and not understanding and thinking I was having a bad dream, and then off I go. But that's my buffer. That's how I do it. And I do that going into a paranormal investigation too, because I did bring home some poor chap one night, and we were both scared when that happened. The blocking energy and the putting the intent out there, it's it's one of those things that you need to do, doing a paranormal investigation, or in your case, even doing a house clearing. You want to get it out. You want to get the energy out of there, but you don't want to bring it home with you.
Right, you don't, and that's why I feel like cleansing my aura too with the sea salts or the Epsom salts or whatever helps. And I tell people, hey, if you're feeling like you're in a negative work environment too, my clients love it. They swear by it now. Like, oh, I love that, bath you told me about. Okay, put some lavender in there. You'll even feel a lot better. But yeah, expanding your aura, that helped me when I was doing a lot of psychic fairs and parties and stuff. So, and I learned that from a lady that came on my radio show years ago. Back
when the salt was first invented.
And when dirt was really becoming a big thing, yeah.
Well, I got one of those salt lamps.
Yes, I have one of those too.
I always thought it was fascinating, that Tibetan sea salt, because I'm trying to picture where the sea is in Tibet, but obviously it's more vertical than the regular oceans that we look at. But yeah, I leave it on all day, and it takes the boy smell out of the room. My friend says, "Hey, usually your room smells like dirty socks." I said, "Thank you." That's my dog, and actually that'd be a good name for my dog. Oh, that smell? That's just dirty socks, and he's a bit farty today. But I find it's really relaxing. I know you're supposed to leave it on all night, but I have an issue with the light on in the room. And, that's just who I am. I'm not great with nightlights or the sound of shotguns. The two will always keep me awake. But I found since I've got that light, it's just very calming. The room itself is clearer. I did have 3 spirits come and have an issue with them a few weeks ago, but we got rid of them. I brought them back from a high adrenaline event that I was involved in. Ended up, these guys all clung on to me and came home and started being a nuisance while I was sleeping. So we had to move them out. That's very rare now. That happened a lot when I was younger, but now it's something that I can deal with. I can bring energy down into my... some people call it sleep paralysis, where they think something's holding them down and it's growling. I can bring in energy through my crown chakra into my heart and then punch out through my chest, and you can almost hear those things flying across the room. And after that, the room is completely pure. It's just perfect energy. It's like completely cleaned out. Those nights, those are the nights I forget to do the meditation, or I fall asleep before the meditation's done.
Yeah.
My guides aren't paying attention. Do you meditate morning or night?
Mostly a night person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a night. Yeah, I actually meditate anytime now. It's just like, especially with everything that goes on in the world today, it's like I got to meditate more. Meditate, levitate, whatever kind of tate.
Yeah, it is interesting. I learned basically how to meditate, which is a type of rock. Meditate when I first became a Mountie as a peace officer, going at a high speed to someplace. Your adrenaline gets up too high. If you go on a high speed from point A to point B, you're not really good to anybody at the other end until your adrenaline calms. So you have different things to, different breathing and to just keep your it doesn't really affect the adrenaline, but it does affect the heart rate and the that tunnel vision you can get sometimes when you get somewhere. It's just breathing, speed up to someplace before you get out of the car, deep breath, bring everything down, relax, and then you can start actually being a service to the people you're coming to help. Other than that, you're just a walking bag of Jell-O for the first 3 minutes. So that the type of breathing we were taught is meditation. It just never never connected.
Yeah, you don't connect it, and you look back at your life and like different things you've learned kind of go together after a while.
I think
kind of cool.
It's like we're getting dealt cards, but one at a time.
Yeah.
Some people like you got half the deck right off the bat when you were 3. People like me may have got it, but we left it down the couch because we weren't paying attention. And it's a bit hard. It's a bit hard to look back in life sometimes and say, okay, when did this first start, and why is it exactly what is it meant to be? And of course, it's always hindsight. I've got a question. Here's one. Are you actually? My question to you, Amy, are you open right now? Are you connected?
Yeah, I'm connected.
There's a lady named Vivian in the chat room in Facebook where you are. Her question is that she would love to know what my angel's name is.
Lauren.
Lauren?
Lauren.
Okay. My God, it's my daughter. I have a daughter.
Yeah,
Lauren.
there is a Laurel or a Lauren. I get it's more a Lauren.
Laurel or Lauren. Okay, Vivian, Laurel or Lauren, but Amy says mostly she's got a leaning to Lauren. And
yes.
Gail's asking, do the entities that come home with you affect other people in your home?
Yes, except I have cats, so if they see something, it affects them differently. I'm just kidding. When I was living with my ex-husband, though, yes, it did. I brought something home, and it tried to appear to him a few times. It scared the crap out of him. It was kind of funny, because he didn't believe in it. And then he came out of the kitchen like, oh, my God, tell your whatever you bring home not to do that to me again. I'm like, yay.
Yay. Yeah. That's why you're my ex-husband. I'll show you.
He's up in New York, and I'm in Florida.
Yeah,
Long-distance love relationship. I love when you're up there, dude.
It's 40 feet of snow, and you're on the beach.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. And he's paying the mortgage. Oh, I hate that. When you do connect, and like I've brought things home, it is interesting that I'm the one who sees them all because, excuse me, I like the idea of kind of me filtering them out from my family. My daughter Lauren is actually very, very high empathically. She's much higher than I am. And we had a ghost in our basement, or spirit in the basement of a kid that used to live here a long time ago. And she was the only reason he was here. He likes his house, but her energy was that way inclined. She never went down to the basement where he was. Ever since she was a little kid, she would not go down to the basement. And she actually lives in her bedroom is his old bedroom. But we crossed him over. She met my spirit medium who told us how to cross the gentleman over, and we did. And now she can go down to down to the basement. She doesn't feel what she used to feel.
Yeah, it's interesting when they do that. When they hang around, I had a spirit hanging around me, and I finally got him to the light, so that was good. They'd like to come, and I'm like, "You're going to the light, dude. Bye."
Dude.
Yeah. Well, Archangel Michael, we talked about him. He's one of my Archangel Michael and band of mercenaries. And they're little ugly things, but they helped cross him over too. Kind of carry him over.
Oh man, tell me about the band of mercenaries. I've never heard of them. What is all that?
Oh my God, you never heard it? Okay.
No.
When I was, after I opened up, I had a woman that taught me how to do some house clearings, and she kind of was sent to me, and she said, Archangel Michael and his band of mercenaries. I go, who the hell's that? She goes, they're kind of things that are green and ugly, and they have these barracuda teeth, and they're here to kind of get the cords away and cut the cords, if there are cords in that. So I saw them one time, and they are ugly. I was like, damn, they're ugly. They're here just to help, clear the cords and etheric stuff that goes on with Archangel Michael. Because when I envision Archangel Michael, he's got brown hair, brown eyes, and he wears a red cape, but he has a sword, a very heavy sword. And he's about 8 foot tall to me when I see him. And then he's got these band of mercenaries around him, these ugly green things. You never heard of that? Damn.
No, the band of mercenaries, I swear, was actually a band.
They play rock songs. Axl Rose and Archangel Michael.
Yeah. And no. Appearing live. The the band of mercenaries. What was the term for the group that hung around with group, not musical group, but the Archangel and his legions. Would that be this kind of the same thing?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I would say that they're helpers, legions, minions, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Minions. See, now I don't want to picture that. It's like Archangel shows up and there's minions with him. Bunch of little one-eyed guys. Not one-eyed, but
no, they're green. They're green, ugly balls of energy, and they got barracuda teeth in there. Sometimes when I'm doing a healing, I'll see them come around and cut cords. I'm like, okay, just do your job, dudes. I'm gonna go here. Yeah.
Which is odd, because if you have barracuda teeth, it means you eat something that's flesh-like and you tear it apart. And I can't see those little guys eating anything. Now, when you say cut cords, what do you mean by that?
Okay, we have etheric cords. Like you and I are talking right now, we're developing a cord etherically, either to our hearts or solar plexus or crown, throats, whatever. Sometimes we have unhealthy cords from people, toxic people. So sometimes I'll do a reading, and sometimes we'll do a healing, and I'll do both, whatever's needed at the time, and we will cut the cords, because sometimes, like an empath, they drain you. Some of these cords really drain you. I had one recently with an ex of mine that I actually had to have a healing session because he had cords all over me, and we had to cut them and send them back to the light. So they're etheric cords. Everybody develops cords, talking or having interactions with people on a daily basis, good, bad, or indifferent.
Very cool. Very cool. I wasn't familiar with those. Can you see those?
Yes, I can. Oh, yeah, I can. I can see them and I can sense them.
Oh,
I have that
nice.
clairvoyant eye, and, sometimes I'll be talking to a client, and maybe they have an ex, or maybe they have a parent or a family member that's real toxic and it's draining them. I will cut the cords for them and just seal it up. And you want to send it to the light. You don't want to, cut them and then leave them hanging there, because then they'll reattach, and it's another story. But, yeah, etheric cords, they're fun. Fun.
Can you see, do I have a bunch of those right now?
Yeah, you do. Well, you're in a chat room. No, just kidding. Yeah, you do. People, it's who you interact with. Sometimes the cord, and the more we interact with the people, the more the cord gets thicker.
Okay. Alrighty. One of the things I'm curious about with etheric cords is that if through a life, if you've got 50 years in a life, those cords, I may have connected really well in junior high for 3 years and had a really thick cord. Well, after junior high or after high school, it's the last time I saw the person. Does that cord remain thick between myself and that person, or does it elongate or thin out as time goes by and we're not connected?
I'm hearing it dissolves in time.
Oh, okay.
It dissolves on its own and kind of falls away. Yeah. But sometimes you will reconnect with that person via Facebook or, I don't know, all these social media stuff. And that cord may still be there, but then it thickens up again. Okay.
And now here's one of those paranormal investigator questions for you. There are a bunch of people that go out, that want to be ghost hunters. We call them all sorts of things. Ghost hunter is to me is a derogatory term for those weekend warriors, or what Dave Scott, who does Spaced Out Radio, it's Pokemon Ghost. They go out and they go just look around and talk to anything. They'll always start, well, not always, but a lot of them will go to a cemetery. And gosh darn it, if I was a ghost, why would I be in a cemetery?
Exactly.
And I would be, as the only haunted place I would be at would be the haunted house in Disneyland. That would be as close to a spooky place that I'd be hanging out in. But why a creepy old damp cemetery full of rotting meat sacks?
Flesh.
Who cares? Yeah. But what I found and what I tell them is, when someone asks me, can I get an EVP or can I get a communication with a spirit in a cemetery? And I say, just read the name. Read the name on the tombstone. And think about the person whose name is on that tombstone. And you may get something. And I swear you get that kind of a being will come by and say, who are you and why are you talking about me? And you won't get the, very seldom, I think, you'll get the ones that are lost because they won't connect to it. But you'll get the ones that have crossed over. And if they're not busy, they'll come down and say, do I know you? Or why is it why have you made that connection to me? So I'm wondering, are we actually putting a strand together with someone on the other side?
Yes, you are. That's what I get, yes. Weak though it may be, you are, definitely.
Yeah. So I guess you could strengthen it up by, we have in the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, we have grave sites right across Canada where Mounties died in the 1890s, and you're responsible. There's a grave recognition or a grave site unit. Anyway, these guys go around and they look at all these old military graves, and their job is to document them and do upkeep on them. So you might be assigned to John Smith, who died in 1880, and when his horse reared up and threw him into a river and he was buried at whatever location. You become kind of connected with that guy. You know his history, you know everything about him. Obviously, you've never met, but you're responsible to keep his grave up, and and then you pass that on to the next generation of the person who's doing it. I'm thinking that connection would be a little bit thicker.
Yes, it is. Yeah, the etheric cord would be thicker from the other side, and that's interesting because I just saw that the cord is thicker. That is cool. That's really nice. You guys do that too. The Mounties do that.
Yeah, well, I believe in the U.S. they do it too. If you've got war dead or somebody's died, it could be like one of my friends does the ghost tours of Gettysburg, and he used to work for the park there. Well, they have graves there. A lot of them are pretty. Not all of them are. Not all of the dead are buried in graves, is what I'm trying to say. But they still have responsibility to keep the park pristine, and that work on the park and to remember the memory or just honor the memory of those who died would also kind of be a mass connection. There was I'm in a veterans motorcycle group, and it's called Agira. Now, Agira is a small town in Sicily, and during the Second World War, a Canadian military branch that we were connected to, was a Seaforth Highlanders, fought in Agira on their way to through Sicily, and a lot of them died in Agira. So the Canadian government's responsible for supporting the local Italian government in keeping that graveyard, the lawns cut and everything, and all the tombstones in good shape and things like that.
Cool.
So that again, you get, if you were the guy working there, you get connected with, these are my boys. This 200 guys are my guys that I look after. Yeah, definitely. That is really cool. I didn't know that. I mean, but I've heard about going to the cemeteries and connecting with the people's names on the tombstones and that. I have a friend up in New York that wanted to do that. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. Yeah. Well,
there's a lot of haunted places around here we could go to. Now, I'm not going to a damn cemetery.
See, to me, it doesn't make any sense, because unless you were a lost soul that was there before the cemetery was dug, that might be a different thing. But you'd really have to make a connection with somebody in the cemetery to kind of call them. And I don't mean wearing all black and swinging a dead cat, calling them out of their grave, which is very goth. But I wouldn't want to go there. But honestly, in the last few years, since there's been this kind of awakening with so many people, that veil between us and the other side has got thinner and not thickened up again. So literally, you can stand in the middle of a football field and eventually get an EVP, an electronic voice phenomena, because somebody's going to walk by.
Yes, and there's going to be, it's amazing what's going on there. People are just opening up, and the veil will not be thickened again. It's going to remain as is, I'm being told.
Okay.
As thin as it is. It's like onion skin, very thin.
And that happened around 2012?
I would say it even happened after 9/11, 2001.
Wow.
because I had my near death in 2000, my second one in 2000, and then when 9/11 happened in 2001, I believe, that is when the veil really was thin, like onion skin, and it's been thinning ever since. And that's just been my experience, that whatever happened on 9/11 in 2001 opened up things in the spirit realm.
Amazing.
It is. That's what they're showing me. They're showing me the 9/11 stuff, and I remember helping people cross over. There was a group of us that were helping the souls to cross over. There was a lot of lost souls. Really sad.
Yeah, a couple of friends of mine were approached to help, and actually they've who was it? Was it Jeannie Morgan or Marianne Morgan? Something came while she was helping cross. There's a lady in a stairwell who doesn't want to let go of the railing, and she won't cross over. She's still holding the railing, and she's still terrified. She will not let go. No matter, and maybe it was Marianne Morgan too, said she found some really, really nasty energy there, like horrid, nasty energy. And she started looking into it, and she found it was one or two of the pilots, the terrorists, that are really pissed that there's not like 40 virgins, and they kind of screwed up.
Yeah.
It's like they will not cross. They're like, no, we're just angry.
Yeah, they are. Well, when I went to, the only time I went to New York City was 2007. Yeah, 2007. I would not go to the site. I would not go to the memorial site. My guides were like barring me from going because of the intensity of the energy. And so I just remember my one friend's like, you want to go? Because we went to Ellis Island, Liberty, the Statue of Liberty Island, Radio City Music Hall. I went to that. She goes, you want to go to the 9/11 site? And I said, no. I was like, I heard my one guide say, no! Okay, I'm not going.
Yeah. Well, and you'll feel it. I'll feel things that I'm, and again, hindsight, back when I was like a uniform cop, I'd feel stuff back then, and I would turn left instead of right and end up finding somebody who's lost or avoiding an accident, or at one point I did something really bizarre out of the blue, and I saved myself from getting shot through a door. So hindsight, after looking back at this, now I can go, oh, that's why I did all those silly things, what I thought were silly at the time, but they were just covering my bottom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, CYA. But I just remember certain things. I won't even go to certain places. Something will just avert me from going there, and something happened, or there was somebody that I wasn't. You just have to follow your intuition. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and that intuition is what'll keep you alive, and it's one of the most important things that you have to deal with. Not have to deal with, but to pay attention to.
Right. Exactly.
My daughter.
And, if you don't follow it, you're going to screw yourself too. If you don't follow it, you want to kick yourself. Yeah,
if you don't follow it, you could end up on the other side. Getting back to the veil thinning, it's my understanding the veil thins in like end of October, early November, and was thickening up before, but it's not thickening, but also at that between 3 and 4:30 in the morning thinning. No matter what time zone you're in, that's exactly when it's going to happen, which is good, which it keeps it kind of basic around the world, because I've a listener in Australia, which is in the future, so it's kind of nice to know that it's between their 3 and 4:30 too. In that thinning, are you experiencing more clarity from the other side? And no, I don't mean from your guides and angels, but I mean the dead.
Yeah. I have. I've seen things more clearly. I've felt them. I know they're around. Like my dad crossed over in 2013, and he's been coming to me lately. And even stuff about world events, I've been picking up stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is weird. I never used to pick up on these things.
What do you mean in world events?
I'm just going to say, because my wonderful, illustrious political person that's in charge of this country, there's going to be certain events that are coming down that I think for us in the U.S., there's going to be a lot of chaos. I saw a lot of rioting, more so than we are seeing now.
Yeah, you should, I should have you on with Skeeter Wellhouse on the shift, and you guys can talk about that, because she is connecting heavy right now with stuff coming.
I noticed it the week of the election. I shut down. That I really had to not take phone calls. I could not do readings. I had to just kind of hide, because the energy was just bombarding me with messages and what was going to happen. And it's just getting, every day I get a message about this and that, and I was like, oh, Lord. So, yeah.
Well, getting that message is important. What to do with the information
is another story.
Yeah.
And the messages I'm getting, because there's things that is going to happen with this gentleman that is going to impact us if it happens. Let's put it that way. There's going to be major riots.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing two different paths here right now that scares me. Both scare me.
Oh, yeah.
Because this country is so divided. My country is so divided. And I'm not taking sides, because I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm in neither. I'm very neutral. But I'm seeing this huge division, and I'm just feeling like, if, let's say somebody knocks him off, man, there's going to be war. And then I see, people are impeaching him. I see these two paths, especially with the Republican Party, and it scares me. It just scares me. Either way, it's going to be huge repercussions.
But what I would tell you is, from my information and talking to people who are connected with that other energy, is it is what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
This is a path.
Yeah.
It's the upstart loud teenager country. And we had information come through from the other side saying it's a weird way of putting it, but it's a social experiment. Other countries are going to be looking at this, finding out, okay, 330 million people, and it was just interesting. It was, quote unquote, an American president was going to be elected. And what that meant was American president within the borders of the U.S., which entailed only being responsible for what's in the borders of the U.S. and not thinking globally. And the other countries, the other nations of the world are just going to look back and see how this works out.
Oh, so yeah, But I also get from my guides and angels, they're like, don't worry about it, Amy. It's going to work out better than you anticipated. So there's that other message. It's supposed to happen to awaken others.
Yeah,
and, I get those messages daily, and it's like, okay, why are you telling me this? Why are you telling me this?
They're telling you that because you are concerned. And to kind of calm you down, I've got to the point, well, it is what it is because it's supposed to. Like I said, the vision of the flags burning on the White House wasn't the country falling apart completely. It was a change in political direction that your country's never seen. That is supposed to happen. I doubt, Trump was not supposed to lose that election. There's no way. And why are people so polarized and they don't understand why the person they work with can't see? Well, those people are supposed to be polarized because it's what's coming. They will basically fall into that easily, what's coming, unless we get our poop together as humans and start realizing we have to get along better. And if that doesn't happen, all the other crap's going to happen right up to the big shift, the moving of the magnetic poles.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, it's amazing because I've never ever had these kind of messages come through. Like I said, after November, it really started inundating me with stuff. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, you're supposed to tell people about this. I'm like, okay.
How do I
will.
do that? I think we better make a movie. The thing is, you've got ways. I was sitting at home, starting up doing paranormal investigations when Dave Scott asked me to do this radio show on the weekend, and I had to think about it, and which was funny because when I met him, he had no idea that I was going to go into radio broadcasting when I was a kid, and at 18, I had my own TV show on cable out here. So he said, "Oh, that's kind of interesting," and I said, "Yeah, I'm not afraid to talk on the radio. In fact, you can't shut me up. Obviously, you can tell. It is what it is. It's we're supposed to get the information out there, and now this information is coming hard. One of my friends, a really, really strong psychic, Leanne Bates. I asked her, "What do you see in the future?" And she said, "If I told you, it would scare you." And that was a couple of years ago. But it was basically to do with the infrastructure, how it's going to go for a complete poop. And if you're not saving up food and seeds and learning skills like making your own horseshoes, you're going to be screwed.
Yeah, and it's going to be it's going to also test our judicial system, the checks and balances, the three executive, legislative, and judicial branches of this country. I'm an ex-paralegal. I studied the law. It's not pretty. So I see all these shifts politically, too, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is really going to test the judicial system and the legislative branch. So it's going to be real interesting. That's all I have to say.
It's going to be a ride. It's going to be a ride. Yeah. Which is, it's we forget we're all one big happy family. But there are some issues out there that have to be dealt with, whether it's those wacky kids over in the Middle East they call ISIL, or the damn Jehovah's Witnesses. The
or the Women's March, with women's rights and chipping away at the statute of abortion. That's another thing that I've been watching.
Crazy. It is coming to a head. It is, but just to make my listener understand, if you've been listening to Dave Scott and I from the beginning, this is what's supposed to happen. This is where we're headed, and it may not, that shifting of the magnetic poles may not happen for 40 years, or if something goes completely haywire, it may happen within the next 5 or 10. But that shift, it's not a big deal. So the needle on the compass moves towards Siberia and not the North Pole. Unfortunately, that affects the tectonic plates. And, when they start popping and grinding, you've got tsunamis, you've got huge earthquakes, you've got volcanic activity all down the coast here, all around the Pacific in the Ring of Fire. Let's see what's left after all that happens. Tsunami after tsunami after tsunami hitting the Pacific coast. There's a cleansing.
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah, and Florida may be in the peninsula and in the ocean. I've heard that, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Amy Toy, it's that time. You can go to sleep now. Or actually just stay awake and start your day in another 20 minutes. And what was that bizarre website again?
Bizarre. amytoi.123look.com.
Excellent. Thank you, Amy Toy. And if you want to see her get a reading, go to her website. It's been a lot of fun. Also, you can follow her on Facebook, Amy L. Toy. And for everybody out there, please keep an open mind.
This is how set free. All that we have is now. If this is what you want, then come to me.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey! Let's be careful out there.
Far over the snow, what are those voices? They sing as they go, what are those voices? Look up for the mountain, because somebody hide, somebody better hide on through the hail, like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. We are after you, dead or alive. We are out to get you, dead or alive. And forget your soul. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after now. Run through the hail like a pack of angry wolves on the trail. Dead or alive, we are out to get you, dead or alive. If you're the one, better run away. Son, you are done. Throw your gun away. Here come the Mounties to get the man they're after. No!
I see dead people.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dave's not here!
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
He's dead, Jim. He's dead, Jim. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim.